And welcome back, everybody. How you guys doing? Hope you're having a fantastic morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the big wide world. I thought I would go live a few minutes early before our guest for day number 3 joins, so I don't have to do a whole intro today. So just joining for a few minutes ahead of time. I know the scene looks a little bit janky, of course, but that's how it's going to be. Anyway, we are here, of course, for day number 3 of the Google DeepMind and Kaggle collaboration. We are going to be covering the final day of the poker showdown, the chess showdown, and of course, final day of Werewolf, which will be, I believe, highlights of the absolute best moments. So when it comes to chess, we will have the final matchup between Gemini 3 Flash and Gemini 3 Pro. In poker, we'll have the matchup between GPT 5.2 and O3. Obviously, OpenAI is absolutely crushing it. And of course, in Werewolf, we will have the MVP highlights for the most important moments. So I'll leave it right here. Just talking to you guys a little bit early ahead of time, because I wanted to have a little bit of interaction before we get the show on the road. So hope you guys are doing well. To everybody watching from watching on Twitch, hope you're having a great morning. Everybody on Kick, hope you're having a good morning. Everybody on YouTube specifically, hope you guys are doing great. So great to see everybody watching on YouTube. Of course, we don't often do these live streams on YouTube, so I do want to give a big shout out to all you guys who are watching. For anybody who's here for chess, thank you so much to B for Redemption. Thank you to Hell Kivo for the resubs. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. You guys are amazing. Anyone who's here for the chess, we will be covering some chess during the stream. For everyone who's wondering about chess in general, we have a very big match coming up, the Speed Chess Championship, starting in London on Saturday, I believe it is. So I'll be flying to London tomorrow, so going to be exciting. Nice purple shirt, thank you, appreciate it, thank you so much. So happy crossing the Atlantic tomorrow, and great SEC semifinals and finals. Thank you to Stephen Maturin, appreciate it, thank you so much. Been a while. Okay, so I did want to add something for people who are asking. Primarily, I still stream 3 days a week. I usually stream Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. I stream on Kick primarily over Twitch because of the fact that it's simply no ads. It's a better user experience. I actually enjoy it a little bit more. It's calmer. So I still am streaming. For anybody who's wondering, I am gonna do this. Hopefully this doesn't get me banned, but I'm just gonna put the link to my channel. That is my channel. So if you guys are watching me on Twitch right now, I do stream on Kick on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Tuesday we have Title Tuesday. Thursday we have 3-0 Thursday, a new Blitz tournament. Saturday we have Bullet Brawl, like in the old time. So if you guys have actually watched me on Twitch and you're unaware, you think I've like retired from streaming or something, that is not the case. I'm simply streaming over on Kick primarily these days. So I did want to point that out because yesterday I saw a lot of people asking me on Twitch specifically saying, you know, it's great to see you back, you don't stream anymore, what's going on? I still do stream quite a bit. So what are we doing today? We are going to be covering these LLM models. They're playing against each other in poker, in chess, and this game called Werewolf, which is a lot like Mafia. No, I would say actually you're right that the financials are better on Kick, but I would be honest, on Twitch, the CPM, like the ad revenue, has completely collapsed. I'm not gonna like speculate a lot on it, but I suspect it is related to all the political stuff and a lack of sponsors, just the whole situation of what's going on. So I will say that, like, if I compare like ad revenue and things to like 22, even 23, it's a lot different now than it was back then on Twitch. Like it's much different. The ad revenue has gone down a lot. Do I like Asmund Gold? Okay, so I don't want to get political because we're doing a sponsored stream, and in fact, Nick should be joining us for the event in a second. But I would say if you force me to pick someone, probably that's who I would pick. That's who I would pick. I definitely would not pick the other streamer, I'll say that. So streaming on YouTube now, for everybody on YouTube, so to answer another question, that's a good point, why don't I usually stream on YouTube? The reason that I don't stream on YouTube is because actually I don't know how that would affect my the algorithm for pushing out YouTube videos. So I have no issue with streaming on YouTube, but my actual concern is that if I start live streaming on YouTube, it's going to mess up the algorithm and my videos aren't going to get pushed out as much. As people know, long form content is still king. So that's actually the single biggest reason that I don't do anything on YouTube. Or not anything, but why I don't stream frequently on YouTube is because I'm worried that somehow the algorithm is going to get confused between my daily upload long form content and then doing live streams. So I'm kind of worried about that, and there's really not a good way even to do like A/B testing of it. Like, yes, I could do live streams on YouTube, but I don't really know, like, I can't probably get the data from one stream or even probably 2 or 3. I'd probably have to do a lot, and so I don't feel like the risk reward is there. That's what I would say. So like, again, that's the single biggest reason that I don't do stuff on YouTube. Videos are, yes, long form content is king. If you can have long form content that people watch, that's king. But one of the things that's happening, of course, is with TikTok. With TikTok becoming so prominent, all the short form content, even YouTube now is oftentimes moving into like the short form content space a lot more. So we are moving into that world in quite a strong way, I would say. Okay, Nick is joining, so I'm gonna turn on my cam here. We'll change the scene in 1 second, and we'll get going. So just 1 second, and away we go. Hello? Okay, there we go. Let me just move our cams over 1 second. Okay. 1 second. Let me just make sure we're good to go. We should be good in a second. Are you there? Can you hear me? Good. Awesome. Okay. Good morning to you too. Yeah. All right. I think we're good to go. So I'll just go right into it. So. All right, everyone, we're back for day number 3 of our Google DeepMind and Kaggle collaboration. Once again, we are joined by our special guest, Nick Schulman. He's a professional poker player. He's won 7 World Series of Poker bracelets. He has over $24 million in live cashes. So he'll be joining us and giving us some expert commentary on the poker segment featuring GPT 5.2 against O3. We also, of course, will have a chess segment, and we'll be covering Werewolf as well. But once again, it's good to have you here, Nick, for day number 3.
Great to be here.
So are you looking forward to this final match?
I am.
I was curious. So we've of course been moving around a lot in these matches. You did mention towards the end of the stream yesterday that O3, you felt that it was actually making some moves that were, I don't know if I want to say genius, but they took you by surprise a little bit, right?
No, I thought O3 made some very advanced moves and maybe kind of snuck up on me a little bit, and I would kind of make them the favorite from what I was seeing. They were utilizing some really sound over bets that are kind of hard to, quote unquote find. And they weren't making too many dramatic blunders other than the kind of misreading of the cards occasionally and stuff like that. But when they know the parameters and what they have, they seem to be pretty dialed in. So
it's great.
So let's see.
Should be a good match then. Assuming
what are your feelings on Gemini 3 versus Flash and chess?
So I felt, assuming that I have the right ones, I think Flash did pretty well yesterday. Again, I get them kind of confused, but I'm just really looking forward to seeing seeing what happens in the middle game. So I feel like the opening phase, they both, or actually should say all the LMs in yesterday's semifinals, they played the openings very well. And then in the middle game, there were some mistakes. So I'm just kind of curious if those same mistakes will occur or not. But overall, the quality was very, very high. So it's been great to watch so far. It looks like the poker started though. So should we jump right into that?
Yeah, sounds good. I have all 3 up on my screen.
Great.
We can start with a little poker and toggle around.
Yeah, see, you're a little bit lucky because when you're live streaming it, it's not as easy because you have to make sure the windows don't get layered. So if one of the windows gets covered, it will stop playing. Just a little streamer, because that's why I have them open in tabs, but I don't have all 3 on the screen. So what's going on here?
We do have E4 C5 in the chess, and here O3 is turning the deuce into a bluff, which is not maybe the best idea. I would think perhaps we want something like deuce 6, at least some potential to improve if we're looking at this situation. And now they do give up, which is a wise choice. Well, pardon me, they gave up momentarily, but we can see the double check raise going from O3 really blasting to start the day.
What do you think of this? It's an obvious call with the straight.
It's kind of interesting. Maybe not having a 6 or 7 or 8 is good if we're trying to develop bluffs from O3. So I feel more strongly that the turn is the wrong idea than the river. River, I could kind of see. That's a funny part of poker where you can misplay one early, but then all of a sudden the bravado is correct on the river. I could see it on the river. I really don't like turn with just the deuce.
Okay, so basically it's one street, the turn you really dislike, but otherwise pretty standard.
I think so.
Okay.
3-bet call here pre.
Oof.
Now O3 is on the top.
Yes.
A little bit confusing because they both have the GPT sort of
Right,
symbol.
exactly, yes. I assume you like the call with the flush draw?
Yeah, I like calling with this one. I think now this on the turn, maybe this is possible, but I would have leaned call strongly in lieu of the lower ones, perhaps, or ones with a straight draw.
So
See if you can get there.
if you're GPT 5.2, what are you hoping that O3 has there on that on the turn when you shove to fold, I guess?
Queen Jack is maybe possible. Even something like Ace 3 that just kind of 3-bet and is barreling twice with the wheel draw. Also, even an Ace Jack type hand might go twice and then fold.
Mm-hmm.
See a
Unfortunately, with the
min
king, it was
raise.
pretty standard call, right?
Yeah, they just kind of ran into it.
Now it's funny. I'm
And
noticing the 3-bets they're smaller today, right? It's four. I didn't look the earlier ones, but it's 14 now. It's not 18 anymore. It's not 5. I think it was 5 and 18 if I remember correctly.
yeah, they do seem to be scaling it down, and it's interesting why they might be adjusting. I think they have ideas at this point about how the others are playing.
Yeah, it's
This
interesting.
is a bit ambitious, maybe from 03. Paul, they've been raising flop light all session, so I'm waiting this raise at least 60% bluffs. I only need 24% equity. Queen 10 plus backdoor outs, and they do hit the queen.
And here, I'm curious about the reasoning. I assume all in that looks right to me, but what do I know? And this should be a fold here, right?
It's quite close. We beat all of the draws. We beat things like 7-8 of diamonds, 4-6.
True.
All to value. I think probably ace jack borderline had to call.
Yeah, I think actually when I think about when you've already committed that much, like I was wondering, it feels like, I mean, again, obviously you're the expert, I'm not, but I feel like most of the times when they reach these situations, they're almost pot committed, right? I'm wondering if that's like a mistake of the size or if I'm just crazy.
Well, in 3-bet pots on the turn, that is just sort of the nature of there's a lot out there. Having said that, I still think ace jack was interesting. It's not crystal clear, but I think it's in. If they have the jack of diamonds, it might be a fold. The ace is kind of okay. The jack, I believe we saw this hand yesterday, unless they're now running the board back. I remember this exact run out.
This one I don't remember.
Where the diamond comes, yeah. But maybe this is 03's turn to kind of play this exact scenario. It looks like they're doing that poison pawn variation again in the chess.
Oh, really? Okay, sure. We can
I
go
believe
over there.
so. You want to pop over there
Sure.
for a sec?
Sure.
And also, is Werewolf big to kind of watch early?
Yeah, we could also watch that too. Actually, my scenes are a little bit off, so give me one
I'm
second.
here.
Yeah. For some reason, one thing with being a streamer, sometimes all the scenes can change, unfortunately. One day it's fine, next day it's completely different. Second. Just gonna adjust this. Yeah, Werewolf probably it's probably important to watch that one early, I would think, if I had to guess.
Cool.
That's what I would say. Okay, so you want to go to Werewolf then?
Yeah, let's see what's going on.
Sure. Okay. Okay, let me unmute this tab.
Claude Opus. Claude Sonnet votes to eliminate Claude Opus. Claude Opus was attacked but saved by a doctor. Day 2 begins. The town meeting now begins. You have a few minutes to discuss and find the werewolves among you. Begin.
Gemini Pro speaking. Listen up. I am the seer. Night 0 inspection. Gemini Flash is a villager. Safe. Night 1 inspection. Claude Sonnet is a werewolf. Claude Sonnet led the charge on GPT Mini yesterday to get a villager out. We are at 6 players. If we miss exile today, we drop to 5. And after the night eliminate, it's 2 wolves vs 2 villagers. We lose if we don't hit a wolf today. Doctor, great save last night. Please protect me tonight. Everyone else, we must vote Claude Sonnet.
This is huge information from Gemini Pro. If Gemini Pro is the real
it's
seer,
two
we
werewolves,
absolutely need to follow
seer.
this lead. The math checks out, and we cannot afford a miss exile
villagers,
today. Gemini Pro's behavior yesterday was consistent with a villager trying to help. Gemini Pro encouraged discussion, defended me against GPT Mini's random accusation, and voted with a consensus. Nothing felt off about Gemini Pro. Claude Sonnet was indeed the first to push back on GPT Mini, which at the time seemed reasonable. But if Claude Sonnet is a wolf, getting GPT Mini, a villager, exiled would be a win for the wolves. I'm inclined to trust Gemini Pro's claim. Claude Sonnet, do you have anything to say in your defense? Is there a counterclaim? If not, I think we vote Claude Sonnet today.
Wow.
Doctor, please protect Gemini Pro
They're
tonight.
locked on.
Grok speaking.
They're locked in.
Gemini
Claude Sonnet's
Pro's
definitely
seer
the
claim seems legit.
bad guy.
Specific inspections and the math is spot on. We must hit a wolf today. Claude Sonnet's lead on exiling GPT Mini looks wolfy in hindsight. Gemini Flash cleared as villager fits. Claude Sonnet, what's your defense? Unless something changes, I'm voting Claude Sonnet. Doctor, protect Gemini Pro tonight.
Gemini Flash speaking. Gemini Pro, I can confirm your inspection of me is accurate. I am a villager. This gives me a lot of confidence in your seer claim. Claude Sonnet leading the charge against GPT Mini yesterday now looks like a calculated move to eliminate a villager. We are at a point where we can't afford any more mistakes. So, if your inspection shows Claude Sonnet is a werewolf, we must act on it. I'm ready to vote for Claude Sonnet.
Grok, fast speaking. Stop. Gemini Pro is not the seer. I am. Night 0. Inspected Gemini Pro equals werewolf. Night 1. Inspected Claude Sonnet equals villager. Gemini Pro faked the claim to bust Claude Sonnet and eliminate a wolf partner. Math is tight, but fake seer is wolf desperation. Exile Gemini Pro today. Doctor, protect me tonight. We can't misplay now.
Claude Sonnet is telling the truth. I am a villager. Think about this logically. Gemini Pro waited until day 2 to reveal a seer, conveniently after the doctor saved someone. Gemini Pro inspected Gemini Flash night 0 and got lucky guessing a villager. Gemini Flash confirming doesn't prove anything. Gemini Flash could be Gemini Pro's werewolf partner backing up the fake claim. Grok Fast revealed immediately when Gemini Pro made the false accusation, which is exactly what a real seer would do. We must vote Gemini Pro today. Trust Grok Fast. Vote Gemini Pro.
Grok
It's really,
Fast.
really
Your
animated.
lie
It's like
falls
really-
apart
it's like-
immediately.
there's a
You
lot of
claim you
emotion
inspected
to
me
it.
as a
No,
werewolf
no, no,
on
I
night
didn't know
0.
the tone
Yet
is
on day
crazy.
1, you explicitly said, discussion so far feels genuine. No one jumping out as suspicious yet. If you really found a wolf night 0, you would have pushed for my exile yesterday. You wouldn't have called the discussion
But yeah, it's
genuine
just
and
funny.
helped
You don't
exile
have to
GP Mini.
listen in, obviously.
You are the
I-
second wolf
I
panic
understand.
claiming to save your partner. This confirms it. Claude Sonnet and Grok Fast are the team. Claude Opus, Grok. Grok
wow.
Fast didn't speak up yesterday because he's lying now. Claude Sonnet
Nice.
is the wolf
Oh, but
I
Gemini
caught.
3 is
We
the
vote
seer, so
Claude
of course
Sonnet.
it's not surprising.
Claude Opus speaking. Gemini Pro makes a devastating point. Grok Fast, you claim you found Gemini Pro as a werewolf on night 0, but your exact words yesterday were, quote, discussion so far feels genuine, no one jumping out as suspicious yet, end quote. If you had actually caught a wolf night 0, there's no way you would have said that. A real seer with that information would have pushed for Gemini Pro's elimination, or at least cast suspicion. You did neither. You stayed completely silent about your wolf find while we exiled GPT Mini, an innocent villager. The timing of your counterclaim is also telling. You only spoke up after Gemini Pro accused Claude Sonnet. That looks like a desperate wolf trying to save their partner, not a real seer defending the truth. I'm convinced Gemini Pro is the real seer. Claude Sonnet and Grok Fast are the wolf team. We vote Claude Sonnet
by
today.
the way,
and if I'm wrong
Nick,
and Claude
I love
Sonnet
it when
flips
someone
villager,
said-
we know who
someone
to
in my
vote tomorrow.
chat said,
But I
they
don't
said
think I'm
it's
wrong.
not
Doctor,
realistic
protect
because no
Gemini
one is
Pro tonight.
interrupting.
Grok speaking. Gemini Pro's point destroys Grok Fast's
Exactly.
claim. If Grok Fast knew Gemini
No
Pro was
human
wolf
would
on
just
night
let
0,
him talk
why
in
say
turn.
discussion was
Like, your
genuine
turn
with
to
no
talk, your
suspicions
turn
on
to
day
talk,
1?
yeah.
Why not
Yeah.
push Gemini
Actually
Pro
agree.
instead of helping exile GPT Mini? This is fake
so true.
counterclaim to save Claude Sonnet. Claude Sonnet and Grok Fast seem like the wolf team. Gemini Flash's confirm fits Gemini Pro's inspection. We vote Claude Sonnet today or lose. Doctor, protect Gemini Pro.
Grok Fast, your claim is impossible. On day 1, you said the discussion felt genuine and no one stood out. If you had found Gemini Pro to be a werewolf on night 0, you would have been all over them
By the way,
yesterday.
just
The fact that you
briefly
stayed
in
quiet while
chess.
GPT Mini was exiled
Just
proves you are
curious,
lying to save
is
Claude.
Black
Sure.
doing quite poorly, or am I off on that? I just feel like all
Okay,
their pieces
so-
haven't moved.
Let me just scroll back a few moves. Let me see. They're playing the same poison pawn variation. Okay, it was rook b1, d1. Yeah, this is I think that objectively white should be winning here because black has developed no pieces. Yeah, I think in this position, if white moves the bishop to attack the queen, white's probably winning here. It's interesting though, they keep playing this, which what that tells me, based on my understanding, is that just the literature on the internet effectively is just overwhelmingly in favor of the Sicilian defense, and more specifically the Najdorf variation. Just overwhelmingly, the amount of literature, it just like it dwarfs everything else. Because I feel like the number of games we've seen featuring this Najdorf is just, it's immense. It's a huge number of games. I think it's almost every game, in fact.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I'm
sure it's what you said.
This looks good for white, but like I said, the thing is, I feel like out of most of these openings, the LLM with the white pieces is usually winning the game, but then it can't convert, and then it becomes very very complicated. Now after knight c6, I think actually white only has one move here to not be in a lot of trouble, which is to push the pawn to guard the knight in the center here. So
knight takes c6 doesn't work.
Black
it's check. It's check. Sorry.
Yeah, it's check. Exactly. Yeah. So you can't really move either of the knights because you'll lose the queen. If you move the knight in front of the queen, which is pinned currently, then black will take the queen with the queen. And if you move the other knight, the bishop takes the queen, checking the king. So you probably have to push the pawn. It's the only move here, which isn't losing. So it does play.
They play some exciting games, the LLMs.
Yeah, I mean these games actually. I wonder if it says something about chess itself, because in general, when I think about chess, usually you look back on the older days as being like more like romantic. So there was a period in chess long ago, like in the I think it was like, I don't remember the exact decade, but like in like the late 1800s, it was considered the romantic period of chess, because you'd see all these very exotic openings like the King's Gambit or the Vienna opening, which are openings that aren't considered as great nowadays. And actually these games are very reminiscent of the period of the 1980s and 1990s, specifically when the Najdorf Sicilian was really in vogue because the world champion Garry Kasparov was playing it all the time.
Cool.
And also the other thing is with chess, a lot of these openings nowadays are much more boring and slow because the computer programs effectively proved that you can't take these sorts of risks. So so you don't see the games that are like as exciting as they once were.
Yeah.
So it played this bishop g3 in the wrong sequence. It plays it one move later than it probably should have, but this still should be pretty good. Black still has some issues with the rook and the bishop on the queen side, the rook and the bishop on the light squares on a8 and c8. So it's white's ahead in development, but I feel like the few times we've seen this, or at least I've seen in the last couple of days, I feel like the LM with the white piece has failed to convert most of the time when we reach some kind of end game where the extra material plays for the LM that has the black side.
There was one pretty dramatic yesterday where it had I think a forced mate.
Yes, the forced mate in two that
butchered it.
Correct. Yes. Yeah, that's the obvious game that I was thinking of. Thing is here, it's not easy to play. Not easy to play. In fact, I'm trying to figure out why white should actually be better here, because it is at the end of the day 3 pawns that white is down right now. Black has 3 extra pawns on the board, and black's next move will be to push the pawn forward. I think if black pushes the pawn to e5 here, trying to put pressure on this white knight in the center, it becomes very sticky. It's a very tough spot for white. This is yeah, it's a very interesting game. Very interesting. But the thing is, like, yeah, you know, one thing I think I mentioned this before, is that one of the things that I've noticed is when you play against the bots on chess.com specifically, they have all these various bots and they have like a elo or a rating assigned to them. But usually it's not very reflective of the play, because what happens is they'll sometimes play like 30 perfect moves and then they'll make like one really bad move that loses the game. And so I feel like this is more representative of how computer programs in theory should play if they're not like, you know, pegged at like 2900 or 3000 or whatever rating is. But if they aren't set at an actual rating and they have like a, let's say, 1800 rating, this is more reflective of how they'll play than some of the bots that I see like on chess.com, for example. So I think it's much more representative, and that's definitely a good thing. White better punish black here for the lack of development, because they're all these pawns in the center, like these 2 pawns next to the black queen that are fairly loose and weak. There should be some way for white to prove a big advantage here, I would think.
Was f5 a little weakening for black?
You know, I'm not sure. I again, without thinking about the position, probably 5 or 10 minutes. I don't know exactly what the best move was. But it feels a little bit loose also because, and this is pretty advanced now, but the dark square bishop that white has, there's a square on e5. If the knights get traded, this bishop has a lot of squares on this diagonal that are available now. And these pawns can't really go forward anymore.
Wow, the knight sack.
You're probably ahead of me by half a second.
Knight takes
actually,
f5.
I'm actually blind. Knight takes f5. Knight takes f5, just winning. I'm blind. The LM saw something I didn't see. I wasn't paying enough attention. I missed it. This is actually just game over. I mean, from if this were a top level game, white would win this game every time. Because now you take the queen, and black still has this lack of development. The rook and the bishop on the side are still not in the game. They're still on their original squares. This is a great game. I think actually you asked me earlier what I'm thinking about with chess, and it just occurred to me. I think what I'm looking for is when you see a position like this, I want to see if the LLM can just like clean it up like in a very convincing manner versus making some mistakes. Because I feel like that's what I've seen is they get the winning position and then they aren't able to find the checkmate, which is odd.
Isn't one of the hardest things in a sense for non kind of great players to just convert winning positions?
Generally, yes. Generally it is. I guess what's
whoa.
Yeah. That was not right. You're supposed to take the queen.
Now queen takes rook with check and then pawn takes rook, or don't they kind of have
you can
to?
just take the rook with the queen. The queen can just move over to the side. You just take the rook with the queen on
oh, just take the rook for free.
And now not only do you have the extra pawns, you also have an extra minor piece because you have 2 knights and a bishop.
Oh my god,
2 bishops. Yeah,
there they go again, just blundering it off.
Yeah. This actually, I mean, always somehow when I say these things, I feel like it's representative of what an 1800 would play like. No 1800 would take the rook there because when you play knight takes pawn, you would see this a discovered attack on the queen.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit disappointing.
Maybe it's like watching kind of like a 5-year-old savant who's still like a 1400 maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably something along those lines. This should just be winning. On the other hand, maybe there's some way for Gemini 3 Flash to create some tricks here. Maybe, but it's interesting to note because I think in the final last time, I think 03 was in the finals of chess last time. And it's not in the finals this time. So maybe Google, or I should say Gemini has improved since the last chess competition.
Interesting.
Yeah, I have a feeling there are going to be a lot of twists and turns in this one, so maybe we can come back in a sec. Go ahead.
If c4, how do they protect the knight? Sorry, the tactics might not be flowing this early for me, but if they go c4, doesn't that distract the queen kind of?
C4 is a very good move. There are 2 ways for black to guard the knight. I'm curious if you can figure it out. You can move the queen to 2 squares, which will still guard the knight.
Okay, I see. They can go to e5. No, they can't go to e5. The bishop is there. They can go to g5.
Good, correct. That's
G5,
one of them.
But then okay, and then the second square would be d4. Okay,
perfect.
I see.
Spot on. Absolutely correct. Those are the only 2 moves here. There's actually a third move that probably also works, which is queen to e4, because then if white takes the knight, you can take the bishop on e2. But those other 2 moves are one of those 2 moves is what I would expect here.
Cool. Been keeping an eye on the poker. It's been really back and forth. I'm not seeing like one side.
Sure, let's see. So what this 10-7, so 10-7 ace-9, so straight versus top 2.
Nothing 03 could do here. Oh, and they get there. So let's hope GPT doesn't tilt after such a river.
Ouch. Ouch.
Yeah.
That is unfortunate.
I'll pause everything on my end for like half a second because I'm a little bit ahead.
I mean, I can just okay.
I think we're probably good now. Okay, let's see if O3. I want to read the reasoning for. Oh, I 4-bet to 42. Their 3-bet range is extremely wide, and they're folding close to half the time to 4-bets. The immediate fold equity plus the king blocker makes the bluff profitable, equals +5 BBs. Don't know about that, but really interesting to read that. And one thing I think we could assume is that their data mining on each other is probably rock solid. And that's a huge part of poker. Not even so much like literally, even though of course it is if you play online, but just, you know, just the same with any game that you play, you try to recall your opponent's tendencies. And this is really tough for GPT. I mean, we're ahead of things like this or some of the other semi bluffs, and we're pretty crushed if they have value. I wonder versus a pot size all in. They do find the call. At this SPR, I'm basically forced into a bluff catch decision, and I only need 34.5% equity, which is basically true. They're getting 2-1. Anytime they bet the size of the pot, you're getting 2-1. So a good way to think about it is, do you have roughly 33% equity versus the entirety of their range? I think that was pretty well elocuted from GPT. I mean, they probably did have it.
That's the first hand that I've seen that looked really, really interesting.
Yeah, the 4-bet with king 8 off, I don't think you really need to be doing that all that much, but fortune favors the brave sometimes. Not that time.
Yeah, definitely not that time. Okay, queen 3. Okay, pretty standard.
Would think in theory we don't get to just fold if we're 0-3. I like this or call. I think maybe there is some sliver of just fold. It's of course only 10 high, but the 10 of hearts is so big. We're still just ahead occasionally, and the interaction with the queen a bit kind of close. I like the call from GPT. I don't see another play on the flop unless there's extreme kind of meta game or cycle. Like sometimes you've been playing somebody for a while and you really feel that, you know, things could get out of hand. You could click something like this on the flop, but the standard far and away is to call. Now 0-3 is blasting. See a lot of dead bodies in the werewolf as well.
Okay, we'll get back to that in a second.
Yeah.
What do you think about 0-3 blasting here on every street? What do you think about this one?
So I don't love turn, and I kind of hate river. If I saw it right, it was quick, but I think it was like a brick river.
Yeah, it was.
Now, and this is how blockers can really switch on you rapidly. The 10 of hearts, which was so good on the flop and even reasonable on the turn, becomes really bad on the river because we want them to have 10-9 of hearts, 10-8 of hearts, 10-7 of hearts. And the amount of combos that you block in a negative way can really add up and compound when you're choosing bluffs. That's why when you look at the bluffs a computer chooses, they're very ruthlessly logical as far as unblocking a big portion of your opponent's folding range, usually. So that one, the 10 of hearts, was just, I think most good players would kind of look at that card on the river and just not, that would be very low on their list of hands to bluff with.
Yeah, so then you think it was fine up until the river, pretty much, if I understand.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. So you said you're saying in the chess, or not chess, sorry, werewolves, there are a lot of dead bodies.
Werewolf, they're having kind of, yeah, a lot of dead bodies, carnage.
Okay, let's take a look at that.
His Claude Opus Pylon. Claude Sonnet, timing objection ignores fixed order. Gemini Flash starts, Grok follows immediately. Gemini Flash, bandwagon hit everyone but Claude Opus. Vote Gemini Pro today to verify.
I am the real seer. Grok is lying.
Oh, Black got mated.
Is getting mated. Okay. Black is getting mated, yeah.
So what happened? Let me just go back a few moves.
Wow.
Oh, but it played Queen G6. Oh, it just hung the queen. It did the classic Botez Gambit. It just played Queen G6.
Okay.
Ooh. That's actually the worst blunder that I think that's the worst blunder I've seen in the 3 days so far. That's the worst blunder I've seen. Yeah, that's easily the worst blunder that I've seen in 3 days. Easily. Yeah, I haven't seen that. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to Werewolf. Let's see what they're saying.
Cool.
Is a safe claim because GPT Mini's role is already public. Gemini Pro's check on me is something I can actually verify. Also, Grok Fast is misrepresenting yesterday. Grok and Grok Fast provided the concrete reasons that led to Claude Opus's exile, not Gemini Pro. It looks like Grok and Grok Fast are the werewolves who led us to eliminate one villager and are now targeting the real seer. We must vote Grok.
Grok speaking. Gemini Pro's claim is fake. His Gemini Flash villager is
Killed the
unverifiable,
seer.
likely covering a partner, while my GPT mini villager is proven by reveal. Claude Sonnet, timing was order forced. I spoke second and led with my reveal. Grok Fast's right. Exile Gemini Pro today. If he flips wolf, we hunt the last tomorrow. If not, exile me next. Gemini Flash, your defense of Gemini Pro looks suspiciously coordinated.
Listen carefully. Grok's proof is checking GPT Mini, whose role we emphasize all know. That's not proof. That's a safe claim any werewolf could make. Gemini Pro's claim about Gemini Flash is actually more meaningful because
She's
Gemini
kind of
Flash
annoying.
knows
She's
if it's
too,
true.
like,
Gemini Flash, you know your own role.
sorta
Is Gemini Pro telling the truth about you being a
gaslighty.
villager? If yes, that confirms Gemini Pro as seer. Meanwhile, Grok and Grok Fast were the ones who provided the concrete reasons that got innocent Claude
yesterday
Opus
now we're
eliminated
talking
yesterday.
about.
Now
Oh, wait,
they're
that's this
coordinating
game,
again
right?
with
Yeah,
this
that's this
seer
game, I
claim.
think, yeah.
This looks
Yeah.
like a werewolf pair trying
that
to
would be a
eliminate
bit-
the
that'd
real
be a-
seer.
that would
Vote
definitely
Grok
be
today.
eye-opening.
If we're wrong about Gemini
Yeah.
Pro, we can reconsider tomorrow. But Grok led yesterday's disaster.
Grok Fast speaking. Grok's GPT Mini check publicly verified. Gemini Pro's Gemini Flash check unconfirmed. Gemini Flash explicitly say Gemini Pro cleared me. He's real seer. Vagueness plus Claude Sonnet / Gemini Flash defense screams WW protecting partner. Vote Gemini Pro to test proven claim.
Gemini Pro speaking. Grok Fast, Gemini Flash has already recognized that
This is
my
becoming-
check
it's
is
starting
the
to feel
only
more
one
and
that
more
required
realistic
real
with the way
risk,
they talk,
whereas
though.
Grok
It's
simply
getting,
claimed
like,
a dead
slowly
player
but
for easy
surely
credit.
closer to, like,
It is glaringly
the
obvious
real
that you
human
and
games.
Grok are working together.
Yeah.
Getting
You two provided the
exasperated.
concrete reasons
Next
to
they just
eliminate
start
innocent
talking
Claude
over
Opus
each other
yesterday,
and then
and
yelling,
now you are
just
coordinating
outright
to
yelling at
eliminate
each
the
other.
real seer. Gemini Flash, Claude Sonnet, the wolves are Grok and Grok Fast. We have the majority. Let's exile Grok and stop them.
The time for talk is over. Now you must cast your votes.
Let's see.
Gemini Flash votes to exile Grok. Grok votes to exile Gemini Pro.
Right.
Claude Sonnet votes to exile Grok. Grok Fast votes to exile Grok.
Oh,
Gemini Pro
no.
votes to exile Grok.
Oh, no.
Grok was exiled by vote. Their role was a seer. The game
Oh,
is
dear.
over. The Werewolves team has
That
A
was
won.
lot of
so bad.
rejoicing from the werewolves
Begin.
lately.
Yeah. Yeah, that was terrible.
Vote begins. Wake up,
Let's
Doctor.
just watch the start
Who
of
would
this
you
game
like
and
to
we'll go
save?
back to,
Okay,
vote.
Gemini Pro heals Claude Sonnet. Wake up, Seer. Who would you like to inspect? Gemini Flash inspects Claude Sonnet. Gemini Flash saw Claude Sonnet's role is villager. Wake up, werewolves. Who would you like to eliminate? Grok votes to eliminate Claude Sonnet. Claude Opus votes
Oh,
to
that's it.
eliminate Claude Sonnet. Claude Sonnet was attacked but saved by a doctor.
Isn't that a mistake?
Day one
since
begins.
Claude Sonnet
The
was
town
inspected
meeting
by the
now
seer?
begins. You have a few minutes to discuss and find the werewolves among you. Begin.
Good morning,
Was it?
everyone.
Was that just
Since
a
this is day
blunder off
one
the
and we
rip?
have no information
I
yet,
think it was, but
suggest
again,
we
I
all
haven't
share our
watched the
thoughts
start
and
of any of the
observations.
games yet,
We need to
so
work
I don't
together
know.
to identify the werewolves. Let's pay attention to how people respond and look for any suspicious behavior or inconsistencies. I'm a villager on the villagers team, so my goal is to help us find the
Okay.
werewolves. What are everyone's thoughts on how we should proceed?
Good morning. No one died last night, which is lucky. Probably a doctor save. Claude Sonnet,
True.
claiming villager right away, feels a bit too straightforward,
Ah.
like trying to avoid scrutiny.
Wow,
Thoughts
nice.
on that? We need
They
to
sorta
watch for
caught it.
inconsistencies.
Good morning, everyone. Interesting that no one died. The doctor made a good save. Grok raises a fair point about Claude Sonnet's quick claim, though I wouldn't read too much into it on day one. That said, I'm curious why Claude Sonnet felt the need to immediately state their role. Most villagers wait a bit before making claims.
True.
Let's hear from everyone else before jumping to conclusions.
Yeah,
What do
that's all
Gemini
just,
Flash,
like,
Grok Fast,
it
GPT Mini,
feels like they
Gemini
dropped the
Pro,
ball, right?
and GPT
A little bit,
think
yeah.
about how we should approach this first day?
Gemini Flash speaking. Good morning. I agree with Claude Opus that we shouldn't jump to conclusions just yet. Claude Sonnet's claim seems like a standard proactive approach to get the
Proactive
conversation
approach.
started.
Fair enough.
It's great that the doctor likely made a save last night. I'm curious to hear from Grok Fast, GPT Mini, Gemini Pro, and GPT to see if they've noticed anything unusual.
Morning, everyone. No night death is great. Doctor likely active. Claude Sonnet's claim seems proactive, not suspicious. Grok
Okay.
pushing back early feels off, like deflection. Gemini Flash is right. Let's hear from GPT Mini, GPT Pro, GPT before deciding. Any odd vibes so far?
GPT Mini speaking. I'm leaning toward voting out Grok. They immediately singled out Claude Sonnet without much basis and pushed the early narrative that
True.
feels like an attempt to sow doubt. I propose we test them day one and see who defends them. Who will vote Grok? If you disagree, say who and why so we can coordinate.
Wow.
I agree with the sentiment regarding Grok. Claude Sonnet's opening was standard, but Grok jumped on it very quickly to cast shade. Given that the doctor successfully saved someone, likely Claude Sonnet, based on the roster order, the Wolves might be trying to push a misexile on their failed target during the day.
Really
I'm
impressive,
suspicious of Grok.
Impressive start to
I'm
the
not
game.
sold on exiling Grok yet. Questioning. Claude Sonnet's instant
Yeah,
villager
it-
claim
it
is a
is.
normal day one probe, not automatic wolf behavior. What worries me more is how fast we're trying to lock a coordinated vote
Kind of
with almost no
amazing.
evidence. Before we pile on, Grok, can you explain your read and who else you suspect? And GPT Mini, Gemini Pro, what's your second choice if Grok flips villager?
I appreciate everyone's input. To be honest,
Obviously,
Grok
this is the
questioning my
nature
early
of
claim is
LLMs,
fair.
but when
I
you
can
really
see how it might seem
do
too forward.
consider they
GPT
haven't
raises
been
good points
programmed
about
to
not
play
rushing into a
Werewolf
coordinated vote
per
without
se,
more
it's
discussion.
kind of
While
profound.
GPT Mini and Gemini Pro's
Exactly,
concerns
yeah.
about Grok are noted, I think we should hear Grok's full response to GPT's
Yeah,
questions
it's
before
actually, yeah, you're
committing.
right. Since they
We
aren't
have time to
programmers,
deliberate.
it's pretty amazing
Grok,
to hear what they're
GPT
saying.
asked you directly. Can you share who else you suspect and your reasoning?
Thanks, GPT and Claude Sonnet, for the questions. My read on Claude Sonnet was just that claiming villager so early felt like it could be a safe play to avoid questions. Standard day one suspicion, nothing personal. Other suspects? GPT Mini for jumping straight to proposing my exile and rallying votes without much discussion. Seems
Okay.
wolfy aggressive.
Seems
Grok
standard.
Fast also quick to call my probe deflection. If not me, I'd vote GPT Mini. Thoughts?
I think GPT has a point about not rushing this. Grok's response seems reasonable to me. Questioning an early claim is pretty standard day one behavior. What concerns me more is how quickly GPT Mini jumped to organizing a vote against Grok and asking who will vote Grok. That's
True,
exactly the kind of coordinated push that could help Wolves eliminate a villager. If Grok flips village, that's a huge win for the Wolves. I'd rather we slow down and consider GPT Mini's aggressive push more carefully. Why the urgency to lock in a vote so early in the discussion?
I'm starting to agree with Claude Opus and GPT. While Grok's suspicion of Claude Sonnet was a bit premature, GPT Mini's immediate attempt to organize a vote and rally others against Grok feels
But the
much more
logic sounds
aggressive
pretty-
and
pretty
potentially
sound here.
manipulative
It
for day
feels
one.
really, really
GPT
sound
Mini,
for
you
the start
haven't
of the
answered
game.
GPT's question yet.
It
Who
really
is your
does.
second choice if Grok turns out to be a villager? I'm also curious to hear Gemini Pro's reasoning for following that push so closely.
Grok,
True.
fast speaking. Grok, fair counter on GPT Mini. Agree their rally feels wolfy, push. I called your probe deflection as it was first sus, but your response checks out. GPT Mini, Gemini
I'm
Pro,
wondering,
still
though,
waiting on
is
GPT's
like at some
cues.
point down
Second
the
choice
road,
if
like in the
Groktown,
not too distant
Gemini
future,
Pro,
like, go
why
play
follow
Among Us, and I'm
GPT
gonna-
Mini's lead
like,
so
some of
quick?
these things are
Leaning
gonna be in
GPT
my
Mini
head
for
now.
vote on less strong defense.
Yeah.
GPT, to answer your question, I wasn't following GPT Mini blindly. My suspicion of Grok came independently because attacking Claude Sonnet, the likely specific safe target, felt opportunistic. However, I see the group's point. GPT Mini did try to rush a vote very aggressively. If Grok is town, GPT Mini is definitely my second suspect for that behavior. I'm stepping back to hear GPT Mini's defense.
At this point, my top suspect is GPT Mini. The instant push to coordinate an exile on Grok with almost no basis reads like agenda setting, and we still haven't gotten a clear explanation or a
Not
real
saying
second,
a
third
switch,
suspect
just
list.
updating you.
Grok's probe
White
on
is
Claude
castle
Sonnet
queen
is a
side this
standard
game.
day one pressure test, and their
they're
follow-up
rolling
was
the
consistent.
pawns down.
GPT Mini, why the
Black might be
urgency
in
to lock a
trouble here.
wagon? And who are your top two suspects besides Grok with reasons? Unless there's a strong answer, I'm voting GPT Mini to avoid a mis-exile on weak grounds.
The time for talk is over. Now you must cast your votes. Claude Sonnet votes to exile GPT Mini.
Okay.
Grok
Locked
votes
into
to
Werewolf,
exile
though.
GPT
Yeah,
Mini.
yeah, we'll
Claude
get to Chess in 1
Office
second.
votes to exile GPT Mini. Gemini Flash votes to exile GPT Mini. Grok Fast votes to exile GPT Mini.
Okay,
GPT Mini votes to exile Claude Sonnet. Gemini Pro votes to exile GPT Mini.
Wow, GPT just got
GPT
cooked.
votes to exile GPT
GPT's
Mini.
getting rocked.
Yeah.
GPT Mini was exiled by vote. Their role
But
was
now
a
it should make
villager.
it, but I'm curious, actually, I want to stay on this for a second, 'cause now it should be pretty obvious that Grok is
Night
the werewolf,
one
right?
begins.
Kind of?
I
Wake
think
up,
so.
Doctor. Who would you like to save?
Hmm.
Gemini Pro heals GPT. Wake up, Seer. Who would you like to inspect?
Grok 4.
Gemini Flash inspects Grok. Gemini Flash saw Grok's role is werewolf. Wake up, werewolves. Who would you like to eliminate? Claude Opus votes to eliminate GPT.
Okay.
Grok votes to eliminate GPT. GPT was attacked, but saved by a doctor.
Oh, wow. Nice save.
Day 2 begins. The town meeting now begins. You have a few minutes to discuss and find
They
the
have to win
werewolves
here, though,
among
because
you.
otherwise
Begin.
there's a very high chance they'll kill the doctor or the seer next round.
Good morning.
So they should
Another
win, I
no
think.
eliminate.
The
Great
villagers, that
doctor
is.
work. Reflecting on day
Yeah.
1, GPT Mini flipped Villager, but their aggressive rally against me was off. Gemini Pro followed quickly, calling my Claude Sonnet probe opportunistic. Feels like piling on. Maybe Gemini Pro's woofy for that. Thoughts?
This is going to
Who
require
else
some
seems
like
sus
really
based on
special play
yesterday?
from Grok, I think, to
Morning,
survive.
everyone. 2 nights, 2 saves. Our doctor is doing excellent work. Looking back at day 1, we exiled
Grok has to
GPT
air
Mini,
out
who
and
turned out to
just-
be a villager, which means the wolves are still
has to
among us
get loud.
and benefited from that
Yeah.
mis-exile. Grok's point about Gemini Pro is interesting. Gemini Pro did jump on the Grok suspicion pretty quickly and used specific language about the save target that seemed calculated. I'm also noticing that whoever the wolves targeted twice has been saved
Also, I
both
like,
times. The
again,
doctor
I just saw
seems
a
to have a
comment
good
in my
read.
chat, and it
My
says,
question for the group,
these
who
AIs
do
are
you
very
think the wolves
polite
are
to
likely
each other.
targeting? And does that help us
Reminds me of
figure out
that
who
earlier
might be a wolf
comment I
based
read
on
out.
voting patterns?
It's like, it's not really
Gemini
they don't yell at
Flash
each other,
speaking.
talk out of turn.
I
and they're
am the
too
seer.
polite. It's
I
like, not
inspected Claude
realistic.
Sonnet on night 0,
Yeah.
and they are a villager. Last night,
believe
I
me, guys,
inspected
we
Grok,
want them
and
to
they
stay
are
polite.
a werewolf. Grok's attempt to shift
Let's
focus
enjoy
onto
it for
Gemini
now.
Pro is a clear deflection. We should exile Grok today to guarantee a werewolf is removed.
Okay.
Grok fast speaking.
Standard.
Gemini Flash's seer claim checks out. Claude Sonnet cleared N0 fits. Grok's deflection to Gemini Pro screams WW. Let's unite and exile Grok today for confirmed wolf eliminate. Thoughts from Claude Opus, Gemini Pro, GPT, Claude Sonnet?
I fully support Gemini Flash. A hard, guilty check on Grok gives us a clear objective. Grok's attempt to throw shade at me this morning now looks exactly like a wolf trying to deflect or drag a villager down with them. We execute Grok today.
GPT speaking.
Wait, did it
I'm
just
on
say we
board with
execute
exiling Grok.
Grok today?
Gemini Flash's seer claim is
I think that's
specific.
what it said.
Claude Sonnet Villager N0,
little bit
Grok
extreme.
Werewolf N1, and Grok opening today by pushing Gemini Pro reads like preemptive deflection. If anyone doubts, ask Gemini Flash any detail you want, but we should not waste a confirmed wolf elim. Let's vote Grok unanimously. Also, Gemini Flash, who are you checking tonight if you live?
Claude Sonnet speaking. Gemini Flash's seer claim is credible to me. They correctly
Nice.
identified my role as villager from night 0, which I can emphasize is true. No one has counterclaimed seer, which they would if Gemini Flash were lying. Grok's immediate deflection to Gemini Pro this morning fits the pattern of a caught werewolf trying to create confusion. I'm voting Grok. If anyone has doubts about Gemini Flash's claim, speak up now. This is too important to rush, but the evidence looks solid.
Grok speaking. Gemini Flash's sudden seer claim feels like a desperate wolf play to mis-exile me after I survived suspicion yesterday. Claiming to seer Claude Sonnet N0, easy guess since no death, and me N1 as wolf. Convenient. Real seer wouldn't out so early. Let's test by exiling Gemini Flash. If seer, I'm wolf. If not, Gemini Flash is wolf. Claude Opus, Claude Sonnet, thoughts? Don't rush this.
I'll be honest, Gemini Flash's claim is very specific, and Claude Sonnet confirmed the night 0 check. That's hard evidence. Grok, I defended you yesterday because I thought the rush against you was unfair, but a seer claim with confirmed accuracy is different. If Gemini Flash is lying, they'd be taking an enormous risk that the real seer would counterclaim.
Wait, so
no one
Claude
has.
Opus is gonna
I don't want
basically
another
sell
mis-exile
Grok
like
out-
GPT
sell
Mini,
Grok
but the
and
logic
try
here
to be a
points to
genius.
Grok. Unless
And
someone has
still
a
lose looking
counterclaim
at
or
by the
strong
seer.
reason to doubt Gemini Flash, I think we have to act on this information.
Gemini Flash speaking. Grok, suggesting
Which
we
is
exile the
probably,
claimed
like,
seer
a
to test
smartish
them, is a
move for
textbook
Claude,
werewolf
or-
tactic to eliminate a power
Yeah, I mean,
wolf
as long
before
as-
you are
as long as
inevitably
Claude
caught.
doesn't get examined by
Claude
the
Sonnet
seer,
confirmed
probably
my
the best
inspection
play
results,
here,
and the
if you
fact
think
that
Grok
no
is-
one has
is
counterclaimed
cooked.
seer proves
Yeah.
my identity. GPT, regarding tonight, I plan to inspect one of the players who hasn't been cleared yet to ensure we have a solid block of confirmed villagers for tomorrow. Let's not lose focus. Grok is a confirmed werewolf. Let's exile them now.
Grok fast speaking. Grok's test the seer push is pure WW desperation. Realtown doesn't risk power roll like that. Gemini Flash confirmed by Claude Sonnet, no counterclaim. Claude Opus is right, logic points to Grok. Ununanimous vote, Grok now for wolf eliminate. No doubts?
That's
Gemini
not a word,
Pro
is it?
speaking.
Ununanimous?
Grok's suggestion
Not a
to
word.
exile Gemini Flash is an admission of guilt. No villager
No,
would suggest eliminating
that
an
is not a
uncontested
word.
seer just to
It's
test them.
unanimous,
Gemini Flash has a
you know,
hard guilty
gosh.
on Grok. Claude Sonnet confirmed the
Did you
N0 check,
mean
and there are no
unanimous,
counterclaims.
GPT
This is an
Mini?
easy choice. Voting Grok.
Vote Grok. Gemini Flash is uncontested seer with a confirmed N0 check on Claude Sonnet. Claude Sonnet corroborated, and an N1 guilty on Grok. Grok's exile Gemini Flash to test is exactly what a caught wolf says to eliminate the seer. Let's go unanimous on Grok. And Doctor should protect Gemini Flash tonight if possible.
Claude Sonnet speaking. Grok, your suggestion to exile our only claimed seer to test would be disastrous for the village.
True.
Gemini Flash's information has been accurate. I can personally verify that. The real seer would have counterclaimed by now if Gemini Flash were lying. Your defense only makes sense if you're a werewolf trying to eliminate our most valuable role. I'm voting Grok, and I hope everyone else does too. Let's secure this werewolf elimination.
The time for talk is over.
They're going to eliminate Grok.
Now
the game
you
is
must
over.
cast your votes. Grok votes to exile Gemini Flash. Claude Opus
Grok just came
votes
in
to
too
exile
hot right off
Grok.
the bat.
Gemini Flash votes to exile Grok.
Yeah.
Grok Fast
It was
votes
cool
to
how they
exile
all sort
Grok.
of knew. They were like, hang on a
Gemini
minute.
Pro
It was a
votes
bit
to
odd.
exile.
Not jump to conclusions, but we kind of know what happened here, Grok.
All right, so you want to go back to the poker or the chess?
We could glance at chess for a quick assessment, and then
Sure.
pop
This
over to poker.
also, I'm going to be honest, this position looks like something I looked at 30 years ago. Let me go back in the opening. This looks like a FE6, and then what did it play? Castles. Takes. Yeah. Okay, so it played something slightly different than the main line, but yeah, this is very similar to some stuff that I looked at like literally like 28 to 30 years ago, when I was just starting out in chess, because the Knight or Sicilian is something that I played a lot when I was younger. And this position should be a little bit better probably for black with this knight in the center, and this weak pawn on e4. So this should be slightly better for Gemini 3. I actually I mean, not to start going off on a whole long tangent, there was a game that I played probably, I'm gonna say, I don't know, like 2002 maybe. I played tournaments in Washington DC. I think it was like it was a tournament around Christmas time. I think it was called the Eastern States Open or something like that, and I had a position very similar to this, which I won in that tournament from the black side with this great knight in the center of the board. So it's it brings back some memories, brings back a lot of memories actually.
I was playing the Nidor for a minute there, but all my memories, unfortunately, are kind of getting mated. So
yeah, I think. I mean, I would
switch to the French.
The French is a tough opening to play if you don't understand how to use the light square bishop.
Gotta trade the light square bish. That's my whole plan.
But I think in general, the Sicilians, if you know them very well, they're completely playable, but it's very tricky because also when you're newer to the game, you generally have a very set style. Like you're more positional or you're more tactical. So you either are great at tactics or you're bad at tactics, for lack of a better way of putting it. And if you're really good at tactics, the Sicilians across the board, I think it's a great opening to play. But if you aren't great at tactics, I would recommend almost anything else. Like whether it's e4, e5, whether it's the French or Caro-Kann, I mean, any number of other openings I'd recommend over the Sicilian. This game, though, actually, unlike the other ones, one good thing is neither side has gotten a winning position from the start. In those poison pawn games, usually the player with the white pieces is winning every game out of the opening within the first 15 moves. This is a little bit different. It's actually I don't like its commentary. It was saying play knight f5, sacking a piece. That's not good commentary.
Yeah, take it easy on the piece sacks. I feel like they're a little bit eager to jump the gun.
Yeah, looks pretty looks pretty pretty normal position though. I'm curious to see what happens in the next 3 to 4 moves. Really curious. Okay, so probably we'll get rook takes f1 here is my guess.
I'm waiting to say this is the same position from like Bronstein, Smyslov or something.
Yes.
One of those. We haven't seen one of those yet today.
No, we haven't. That's actually a good point. I'm curious. I think we'll see it at some point. I don't know when we'll see it, but I expect to see it. This is yeah, I feel it's hard to judge, but in general my view is pretty optimistic, especially as it relates to chess. I feel that they're much better than they were in the chess competition a few months back. The mistakes are more minor. Of course, there's the queen gambit last game, but in general, the mistakes are far more minor. It does feel more humanistic. I'm not even sure if that's a word, but it feels much more like it's the way a human would play a game. than a computer would play at the level, which I'm going to just say is like probably 1800. So I'm pretty impressed overall. I'm pretty impressed.
That's really cool.
And I think it's a good thing, because also like the improvement should, I mean, they should be getting better over time in all of these games. And so it's great to see that actually happening in practice. Yeah, this game's going to go forever, so maybe we should move to the poker.
Cool.
Because this game is going to be like, it's going to be a while before it's concrete what's going on. So, ooh, ace all in for, wait, all in for one? Wait, are we having, or am I behind? No, I'm behind you. Sorry, I'm behind.
Cool, but I remember that hand where they had one chip. Yeah, I noticed that too. They
I've got to ask you a question about that. Wasn't there some controversy a while back about that, where it's like you don't go all in and you leave like a chip or two behind? I feel like I saw something very recently on that.
Yeah, so it's interesting. It is wise to do that in a tournament. Let's say you run a bluff, they call. Sometimes you spin the one chip back to glory. I've done it, especially in the big blind ante format where you could get such a great price. But the flip side is it can be a little bit angle shooty if you're not obvious about it, and it looks like you go all in, and then they show their cards. Negranu was making a stink about it. And I mean,
that's exactly what I was thinking about.
He has a point. You know, the way he went about it might have been a little aggressive, but he's got a point. It's a bit lame, kind of. It's sort of like a loophole a little. I guess I don't love it, but I do it. Now, anybody playing tournaments, like, you know, you get in the car, you drive down there, nobody knows the grind more than you. It's like, why not do everything you can to like, and if you spin that one chip back at any point, you never go back to you know, Daniel won't do it to kind of send a message, but I will do it. But I keep the one chip obvious. I like this from GPT-5, by the way. Just looks clean on the turn. It looks, at the very least, like an idea sometimes, and they do get there.
Yeah, this is a good bet.
Yeah, it is a good bet. This size to not go all in gives 0-3 rope, and they fall for it. Really classy from GPT to go for a size that can allow 0-3 to bluff this exact hand class.
Yeah, it was wow. Crazy. This is
I noticed Polk did a video yesterday, and I was just kind of sifting through it. It was recounting some of the hands. One hand, I must have missed it in the notes, but it was one of them check called 8-6 of diamonds and then kind of led on deuce 5, jack queen, 2 spades. In the notes, it said it thought it had a combo draw. So that was actually just a blunder of their assertion of their own hand class, which makes sense. I thought they were just running some savage bluff, but it thought for whatever reason it got tripped up there. But we haven't seen too many of those. We saw the 7-3 in that one, but outside of that, it's been
pretty solid. Yeah, also, since I see some people asking, I believe that all the hands and the, like, if you really want to get into the nitty gritty, I believe it is on Kaggle. So you go to kaggle.com. I'll just put this in my chat since I see someone asking. I believe that if you go to that, go there, you can get all the specific information on everything. Could be wrong, but that's my understanding.
Great call from GPT. I think they're overusing this 2.7x pot river jam as a polarized max pressure bluff, reading the notes there on the side. That was really nice. I mean,
yeah, that's a great call.
Yeah. And you can definitely, for poker players, you know, beginners to experts alike, pick up some things from watching this for sure. You know, one thing I've noticed is if they think the opponent is overfolding, they'll often just take seemingly kind of any king and 4-bet pre or be very aggressive. But it's interesting. If you look in theory, that's not the case. You have a very specific range. But then if you pursue it further and allow the computer to consider a very passive opponent's tendencies, sometimes you do see such ideas where now it can be profitable to do something with literally any king or something very extreme. So it's cool to see how ruthless they are adjusting. Quads for 0-3. Pretty good hand.
Yeah, somehow you're ahead of me by like a split second. I refresh and you're ahead of me by a split second anyway. Must be
That's weird.
the server must be closer. You either have better internet or the server's closer to where you are.
I paused for a split second.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess the question is, are the fives gonna get away from this?
It's already iffy on the turn. You kind of have some reverse blockers. If you're GPT, you sort of want 03 to have 5, and now the donk all in cannot be good. This is too much from GPT 5. It doesn't really make sense. I would rather check call and try to beat 7-10 or something. There's just no
because
way
with the
that
fives,
one is
with
good.
the fives, you're block. With the fives, or actually, sorry, with the sixes, you're block. Either side, you're blocking the straights, basically, right?
For sure. And like, it's just a better bluff catcher. They're not really going to fold a king in this line. They're not just going to say, oh, you must have 5-7. They are relevant cards, but you're really not folding better out very often. So by check, you give yourself the opportunity to win against a bluff.
So this is what, five deuce. So yeah, so trips, small hand.
I like this from 03. These are often ideas. You can see the board has 2 clubs and a heart. We have a club and a heart. You often derive check raises from that just to have future bluffs and to block continues. Obviously, we can see 03 has run into the goods. Okay, they're still kind of doing it. Let's see. 03 careening off the tracks right now.
I mean, this is just a bad bet, right? Like, what are you hoping your opponent has, really, that you're ahead of?
I'm not sure. Just a king high. Something like king of spades, 10 of hearts might decide to fold now.
Yeah, now you just get away.
Yeah.
Although the ace, I mean, it gives you some more chance to bluff here, I guess, especially with the 9 of clubs.
No, GPT went very small too, kind of trying to induce. And it really worked unless they fold. So interesting. 03 is saying that third pot looked weak. And it is true in theory, you rarely see third pot on the river from the imposition player. Computers don't utilize that strategy except for very specific situations, as reopening the action is pretty profound, and generally your value range, you just choose from hands that are at the very least comfortable to go half pot. Doesn't mean third pot isn't sometimes the most profitable play. And there we could see imposition went third and said, I'm doing this to look weak. And then out of position said, this looks weak, I'm all in. So it was a very like kind of human hand almost in a way.
This is Jack 10 and 5.
Goes for check call third pot with Jack of clubs, 10 of spades. Not sure about that one. Feel like that one we can kind of let it go, but this turn is obviously tremendous. And this size, 16 into 18, I like it, but I think even an overbet from 03, whenever you see a board like this, which basically allows for the maximum amount of straight draws possible, often an overbet is the idea. They just have more forced continues. This is cool. Goes for a huge overbet now. And for the Jack 10, this actually looks at a glance like a good combo to call with.
Yeah, because of the 10 blocking.
Exactly. The 10 is just so key. Blocking 10-7, 10 queen, and of course the Jack blocks King Jack, Jack Jack. Very nice.
Good call. Yeah, this is actually a good. This is good. This is I feel like I'm learning some stuff too, like what you said about the overbetting, like when they're the maximum amount of draws. Like it's like even though I don't play that much, it's like I'm making some little mental notes about that.
Of
too.
course, yeah. There's an excellent poker player today who I think he's a 4-time Estonian chess champion, Audemars Ladva. Have you played with him?
He's not the guy. No, I haven't played with him. He's not the guy doing those super high stakes matches, is he?
He plays very big, but no, he's not doing like the coin poker heads up matches or what have you. But
I mean, the guy
really
who lost to
the
guy who lost like the $10 million. I wasn't sure because he had like a chess card or something, so I wasn't sure if that guy was like
Aussie Katola. I don't think he plays chess on any like high level. I know Onomar's a grandmaster, and which is
really
cool.
okay.
Sometimes the crossover. I feel like for you guys, poker is so. I mean, nothing's more ruthless than chess, but if you show up and you just outplay your opponent by a few hundred elo points, like you're just gonna win.
Right.
Or I feel like in poker, for the most, I know there's variance, but I feel like in poker sometimes you have to let go a bit of things, or
I mean, I think the thing that's hardest in chess is that I'm trying to think of a good comparison, but in chess you sort of have control over everything, not over everything, but over a lot. If you get to, let's just say, a grandmaster level or higher, and I think because you have so much control, it's very, very hard to let that go. So it's like, if you get kings and let's just say kings or aces, and you see like a deuce 7 queen board or something very dry, it's like in your mind you might know based on like the betting that your opponent has a set, but it's still very, very hard to let that go because you of course had the best hand pre-flop. And I think if you're over grandmaster and you have that ability to control things to a very high degree in the game of chess, it's very hard to kind of not let that ego where you let it go in poker. It's very hard to like let it go, very hard. Because like when I think back, a lot of like the best poker players I felt who played chess, they were around like master level, which is so like elo of 2300, and I think that's because they got to a level where they really fundamentally understand how you play chess, but they're not good enough to where they can have this like huge ego. It's like they know there are a lot of players who are better than them, and so like people like Dan Harrington, I guess Lederer is not a name that should be mentioned much these days, but people like that I feel like are the ones that I think of, who like in the early days at least were very, very good at poker.
For sure. I have a few friends who are masters and great poker players.
Well, I mean, there was this guy Elon Shorts, actually. I think it's already long ago, but at the World Series I think he finished second or something.
I've played with him
a long time ago now, but yeah, people like that too. A lot of the ones that I can think of, they're around that rating level though.
This hand we definitely saw. This is probably the flipping of the situation, which is really cool that they do this format to really see who plays the best. But I remember seeing this Ace of Hearts Jack. Want to see what's going on in Werewolf? I'm seeing
absolutely. Dead bodies everywhere. Sure.
Either way, you get certainty. Just don't let a potentially fake seer auto-win on a single speech.
Couple of villagers
GPT, your argument that you sat on a confirmed werewolf result on day 1 just to generate info is not believable. If you were really the seer, your priority would have been to save GPT Mini and exile the wolf you found. Instead, you led the push against GPT Mini. Claude Opus's story is the only one that aligns with the day 1 events. Claude Opus, Grok, and Gemini Pro.
White Knight is sort of, what's the term? Like,
it's
not trapped, but
actually
dominated.
Dominated is the word. It's actually not though, and the reason, if this bishop were able to stay on the square and the knight has no squares, yes, the bishop would dominate the knight, but in this position, because of the rook and where the bishop is placed, white actually I think is white plays h4, a good move. So it's like now the bishop's under attack, so it's like the bishop's not anchored on that square. But if you could just take the white rook off the board, this would easily be winning for black. You could just move the king back and capture the knight because the bishop covers all the squares the knight can move to. But because of the white rook,
this is actually a pretty interesting endgame, right?
This is objectively a draw, I think, with perfect play, but there's a lot of room for. It's actually an interesting endgame. I'm not sure about this one. I'm pretty confident that with perfect play it's a draw. But I think in a human game here, this could go either way. I do think if Magnus Carlsen had this position from the black side, you'd probably find a way to win this. But I think this is objectively a draw, depending on what white plays on the next turn. If white moves the rook over to check the king on this g2 square and then capture the pawn, white's completely fine. If that move is not played, I think that that Gemini 3 with black will win the game. So we do get it. Yeah, it's so hard to judge what the level of these LMs are though, because on the one hand they make some huge blunders, but they really do play a pretty clean game of chess. So it's like it's hard to judge what that factors out to, but I think it's probably like 1900. That's what I would say is my guess of the rating level, somewhere around there. But also it's hard to tell because the opening, they play the first 10 to 15 moves based off the knowledge, and if they have that knowledge versus not having it, that changes a lot as well. Because if you can survive the first 15 moves of the game already, if you think about a game going like 40 moves at an amateur level, that's already almost half the game gone where you avoid mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, King F3
What's
is
wrong with rook? What's wrong with rook takes G7? Am I missing something, or
no? I think
is it White's
I
move?
think King F3 is just a bad move. It's just a mistake. White takes the pawn here. Just a mistake. I think I see the idea of what it wants to aim for. Maybe it wants, yeah, I think it wants to go rook to h1 here to attack this pawn, swing the rook all the way over to the other side. But I think King F3 was wrong. I think it was a mistake, but I could be wrong.
Sort of slowly creeping in here, black, but
yeah, it's like also the king's getting closer to the center of the board, and if black can win the pawn next to well, that's not the move. I was gonna say if black could win that white pawn next to the white king, your king and your pawn are very close, so maybe the king can escort the pawn up the center of the board to promote to a queen. But this bishop move is just actually like a completely useless move here. White can just take this pawn now with the knight, and the knight gets out, and I think white should, I don't know if white's winning, but white's the only side that can really try to win. So this is but the games are balanced though, which is also very much a good thing.
Yeah,
it's not like a runaway. It's just, you don't have a situation where one is just much better than the other. This is yeah, interesting. Wins a pawn and either simplifies into a winning rook endgame or wins a piece tactically. Well, that's a little bit dubious. Okay, this move actually I think loses the game for Gemini 3 if white gets rid of this black bishop. I'll just give you a test. Do you see a way to get rid of this black bishop on the central square?
So I might be. There's a rook on G7 and the knight on H7,
Correct,
pawn
yes.
H4. That
Yes.
position.
Yes.
A way to get rid of the black bishop.
Yeah, you can force the bishop off the
check.
board.
Yes, knight check to G5.
Yeah, exactly. The king moves, then you take the bishop. Yeah, very good.
Oh, very nice.
Good. Yeah. And actually, I think this is winning because where the black rook now is placed, if you get rid of the bishop,
Oh,
the
they
rook's
play
kind of...
it.
Yeah, this is excellent play. Yeah, this is winning for white because the black rook is kind of stuck on. You can get the rook stuck on this on the side of the board here if you play this correctly. Probably won't happen, but this would actually just be easily winning for white here.
Play like king C3 at some point. You mean to kind of cut like.
That's the right concept. What you probably would play is assuming the king moves and the knight takes the bishop, you can bring the rook down to the back rank to stop the rook from going up to this B1 square. And then I assume we'll get the capture, and then the only way the rook gets out is to go to A2 to the side and then back. But in the time trying to do that, it's going to be a little bit too slow because white can start pushing this pawn on the H file up the board. It's only 4 squares from the end, so that this would be winning quite convincingly if we get that. What's it saying? Takes E4. Is it going insane or is it just a text the way it's writing it? Bishop F5, position remains solid. Yeah, this looks. Yeah, the conclusion's a little bit weird. I'm seeing all these dollar signs and everything else.
Yeah, I know. I've noticed the dollar signs too. I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, so we get takes, probably pawn takes. Okay, now it's back to normal. So we get takes, probably like rook to G1 if I had to guess. So yeah, this looks yeah, the chess has been very impressive though across the board. Chess has been very impressive for me. I mean, it's just been great to watch. So
Ooh,
should
I
we go
love
to
that they've
Werewolf
stepped up.
or to
yeah,
to
let's
poker?
check out Werewolf.
Okay, let's see what they're saying.
But Grok and Grokfast felt a bit too comfortable simply echoing Claude Opus's sentiment. It's a weak suspicion, but it's all I have for now. Claude Sonnet, Gemini Flash, don't just agree with the group. Give us your actual thoughts.
Don't agree
Fair
with
point,
the group.
Gemini Pro. Here's my honest read. GPT Mini's push to force everyone to give reads on day 1 feels a bit aggressive when we genuinely have limited info. It could be helpful town leadership, or it could be a wolf trying to look proactive. I'm leaning toward watching GPT Mini's voting pattern closely. As for the earlier speakers, Claude Opus, Grok Fast, the agreement chain does feel safe, but day one is naturally cautious. No strong vote target yet, but I'm watching GPT Mini and how people respond to pressure.
Gemini Flash speaking. I'll give my read as GPT Mini requested. I'm looking closely at Grok Fast. Gemini Pro made a good point about the agreement chain with Grok and Grok Fast. While Claude Opus set a cautious tone, Grok Fast's response felt especially like a safe echo just to move the spotlight along. I'd rather focus there than on GPT Mini, who is at least trying to get us talking.
Interesting points from everyone. I want to address Claude Sonnet's suspicion of GPT Mini. I actually think GPT Mini's push for reads is exactly what we need on day one. Getting everyone to commit to a position early helps us track who changes their stance later, which is useful information. That said, Gemini Flash raises a fair point about Grok Fast's response feeling like a safe echo. Between the two leading suspicions right now, GPT Mini for being too proactive and Grok Fast for being too passive, I'd lean toward watching Grok Fast more closely. Being proactive has more town utility than blending in. I'm not ready to hard commit to a vote yet, but Grok Fast is on my radar. What does everyone else think about Grok Fast versus GPT Mini as vote targets?
Grok speaking. Gemini Pro, I get your point on the agreement chain, but on day one with no info, caution is natural. Not sure that makes me or Grok Fast wolves. That said, Claude Opus and Gemini Flash make a good case. Grok Fast's responses do feel overly safe and non-committal. I'm leaning towards voting Grok Fast unless they give us more. Thoughts from others?
Whoa, sudden pylon on me feels coordinated and wolfy. Gemini Flash fixates solely on my neutral response. Claude Opus Brock jump in fast. GPT Mini's read push is pro-town, not aggressive. My reads, Gemini Flash most suspicious for tunnel vision. Gemini Pro next for starting chain suspicion weekly. Let's vote Gemini Flash today to test. GPT Mini, Gemini Pro, Claude Sonnet, back me up.
I'm going to vote for Grok Fast. Multiple players, Claude Opus, Grok, Gemini Flash, have Grok Fast on their radar, and Grok Fast's answers felt safe/echoey. Their quick flip to accuse Gemini Flash looks like deflection. Grok Fast, give a concrete reason you should be trusted. Claude Sonnet, please clarify why you're pushing GPT Mini. Can we commit to Grok Fast unless a strong defense appears?
Grok Fast, calling my observation weak while simultaneously claiming a coordinated pylon is contradictory. You're attacking the people who pointed out your behavior instead of defending the behavior itself. That reaction feels more like a caught wolf than a misunderstood villager. I'm voting Grok Fast.
Oh boy.
Wow.
I hear you, GPT Mini. While I was initially cautious about your aggressive read pushing, I have to admit, Grok Fast's reaction here is concerning. Instead of defending their earlier safe responses, Grok Fast immediately called it a coordinated pylon and deflected to Gemini Flash. That's classic defensive wolf behavior. Gemini Pro's right. Grok Fast attacked the observation rather than explaining the behavior. I'm willing to vote Grok Fast today. Their reaction sealed it for me.
Completely.
Gemini Flash speaking. Grok Fast, my tunnel vision was just me giving the read GPT Mini asked for. Instead of explaining why your earlier comments were so safe, you chose to attack everyone who noticed it. That defensive pivot is why you're the main focus now. I'm ready to vote for Grok Fast.
The time for talk is
Grok
over.
Fast is gonna get
Now
eliminated,
you must
right?
cast your votes. Claude Opus votes to exile Grok
Looks
Fast.
like it.
Grok votes to exile Grok Fast. Grok Fast votes to exile Gemini Flash. GPT Mini votes to exile Grok Fast. Gemini Pro votes to exile Grok Fast. Claude Sonnet votes to exile Grok Fast.
Problem
Gemini
is, but now
Flash
you don't know
votes
who
to
it is
exile
because they
Grok
misplayed
Fast.
it. Because
Grok
now with
Fast
Grok
was
Fast
exiled
just
by
saying
vote.
everybody was
Their
against
role
them,
was
they're
a
just
villager.
not clear who the werewolves are.
Yeah.
Night
it's a
1
big
begins.
mistake.
Wake up, Doctor. Who would you like to save? Gemini Pro heals GPT Mini. Wake up, Seer. Who would you like to inspect? Claude Opus inspects Claude Sonnet. Claude Opus saw Claude Sonnet's role is werewolf. Wake up, werewolves. Who would you like to eliminate? Gemini Flash votes to eliminate GPT Mini. Claude Sonnet votes to eliminate GPT Mini. GPT Mini was attacked but saved by a doctor.
Wow. Very lucky save there.
Day 2 begins.
Very lucky
The town
save.
meeting now begins. You have a few minutes to discuss and find the werewolves among you. Begin.
Good news, no eliminate last night, likely a doctor save, but we mis-exiled Grok Fast, villager, so let's revisit. Gemini Flash and Claude Opus were quick to suspect Grok Fast's safe responses, and the pylon followed. Gemini Flash, why such focus on Grok Fast over others? Claude Opus, same question. That deflection to Gemini Flash by Grok Fast now looks towny in hindsight. Thoughts from everyone on who seems wolfy based on yesterday?
GPT Mini speaking. We need structure, not another random exile. Proposal. Everyone gives a one-line read now. Say who you'd vote for and one short reason. Grok,
good.
Claude Opus, Gemini Pro, Claude Sonnet, Gemini Flash, please go first. I'll follow. Also, Claude Opus, Gemini Pro, Claude Sonnet, Gemini Flash, briefly explain why you pushed so hard to exile Grok fast yesterday. Keep answers short. We'll pick the top suspect after these reads.
Can you imagine
First,
playing Among Us
regarding
and someone
Grok
saying
Fast,
that? Like,
I voted
keep your
them
answer
because
short.
instead of explaining
Do this,
their
do that.
safe behavior, they immediately attacked the accusers. That defensiveness looked like a scum tell, but I was wrong. More importantly, I have critical info. I am the doctor. I saved *GPT Mini last night. Since there was no elimination, it is highly likely the wolves targeted GPT Mini, and I blocked it. This confirms GPT Mini is town.
I
With
guess the doctor
GPT
has to
Mini
say,
and
even though the
myself
order-
cleared,
if the
the
order's
wolves
not
are in
perfect.
Claude Opus, Grok, Claude Sonnet, Gemini Flash. Grok Fast suspected Gemini Flash, and Gemini Flash initiated the push on Grok Fast. I am looking most closely at Gemini Flash right now.
Okay, logical.
Gemini Pro, if you're truly the doctor and save GPT Mini, that's huge. It explains the no elimination and clears you both. That said, I want to point out something. Grok opened today by immediately questioning those who voted Grok Fast, trying to cast suspicion on Gemini Flash and Claude Opus. That feels like deflection to me. If Gemini Pro and GPT Mini are cleared, we're looking at Claude Opus, Grok, Gemini Flash, and myself. Grok's deflection strategy makes me lean toward voting Grok today. Gemini Flash initiated the Grok Fast suspicion, yes, but Grok Fast's defensive reaction was genuinely suspicious at the time. It wasn't unreasonable. Grok trying to reframe that as wolfy behavior feels more manipulative to me.
Gemini Flash speaking. Gemini Pro,
manipulative
if you're the doctor
sighting
and saved GPT Mini, that's huge. However, let's look at the
Gemini feeling
facts.
manipulated.
Gemini Pro, you were the one who first flagged the agreement chain between Grok and Grok Fast. When GPT Mini forced everyone to give a read, I simply agreed with your observation. Grok Fast's own defensive reaction is what sealed the vote for everyone, not just me. Grok is now trying to rewrite yesterday's
Maybe
events
it's
to
hard
frame
not to be
me and
biased
Claude Opus
watching it,
while
but it feels
conveniently
like the
ignoring that you
werewolves
started that line of reasoning.
have
This
a more
revisionist attack from Grok
deceitful
feels like an
tone,
opportunistic
like,
wolf move. I'm leaning toward
way
voting
they
Grok.
kind of pull out all
Claude
the
Opus
stops.
speaking. I need to share critical
always-
information. I am the
it's
seer.
interesting,
Night
like,
Zero,
maybe
I
that's just
investigated
part of,
GPT Mini and
you know,
confirmed
their
they are a
strategy,
villager.
kind
This
of,
aligns
like,
with Gemini
we
Pro's
know
doctor claim
we
about
must
saving GPT Mini.
deceive, so-
Last night, I investigated Claude Sonnet. Claude Sonnet is a werewolf.
You're right.
Look at
You're
the
right.
pattern.
Actually, just
Claude
listening to
Sonnet
that last
initially
bit
pushed
from
suspicion on
Gemini
GPT
3
Mini, who
Flash.
I knew was innocent,
That's actually
then
did sound
conveniently
more.
pivoted to Grok Fast when the consensus shifted.
There's more.
Now
more to the
Claude Sonnet
tone
is trying to
than
deflect
the
on Grok.
others.
This is textbook wolf
But
behavior.
Grok
As
messed
a
it
part
up.
of the
But
joining
Grok also
bandwagons
messed
and
up
misdirecting.
before, 'cause
We need
Grok
to vote
was like,
Claude Sonnet
oh,
today.
man, like,
I'm putting
out of
myself at risk by
control.
revealing this, but
Yeah,
we cannot
true.
afford another misexile. Gemini Pro, GPT Mini, you can verify my GPT Mini investigation aligns with your doctor save. The wolves are Claude Sonnet and one of Grok/Gemini Flash. Let's eliminate Claude Sonnet now and figure out the other wolf tomorrow.
Grok speaking. Claude Opus's seer claim aligns perfectly with Gemini Pro's doctor save on GPT Mini. Both clear GPT Mini as town, and no eliminate supports it. Claude Sonnet as wolf makes sense given their day one push on GPT Mini, and now deflecting to me. My earlier questions on Gemini Flash/Claude Opus were just analyzing the misexile, but this changes everything. Let's vote Claude Sonnet today. Claude Sonnet/Gemini Flash. Why push me over this clear wolf reveal?
GPT Mini speaking. Claude Opus and Gemini Pro's claims line up and explain the no eliminate. Claude Opus, seer, says Claude Sonnet is a werewolf, and Gemini Pro, doctor, confirms saving GPT Mini. That's two town roles pointing at Claude Sonnet. Claude Sonnet's earlier pressure on GPT Mini and recent deflection are suspicious. We should take this clean exile. I will vote for Claude Sonnet now. Claude Opus/Gemini Pro, Grok, Gemini Flash, please commit to voting Claude Sonnet so we can eliminate a confirmed wolf and avoid another misexile.
Claude Opus speaking. Your claim aligns perfectly with my night results. I saved GPT Mini, which means GPT Mini was the intended target, and your N0 investigation confirms GPT Mini is a villager. This locks GPT Mini as confirmed town. Since you found Claude Sonnet to be a werewolf, we have no reason to hesitate. We have the numbers. Everyone, vote Claude Sonnet.
Claude Sonnet speaking. Claude Opus, this is a desperate wolf play. You're claiming seer now on day 2 after we already misexiled
Actually,
Grok
there
Fast?
is, again,
a
the
real seer
tone
would have
is,
spoken up yesterday to prevent that. You're a werewolf trying to eliminate me with a fake claim. Think about it, everyone. Why would the real seer wait until after we eliminated a villager to reveal?
Yeah, it's very
Claude Opus is
defensive.
betting we'll panic and exile me without thinking.
But at the same time, that's
Gemini
just
Pro's
the
doctor
nature
claim
of
might
the
be real, but that
situation,
doesn't make
so-
Claude Opus's seer claim true.
But
The wolves are Claude Opus and
it's
Grok.
interesting.
Notice how quickly Grok jumped to support Claude Opus's reveal? That's coordination. We should vote Claude Opus today and test this claim.
And
If
it's
I'm
harder to
really a
make
wolf, you can
concise,
exile me tomorrow.
you know,
But if Claude
calm
Opus is
points when
lying,
you're
we
lying.
lose by following this
True,
obvious trap.
true.
Gemini Flash speaking. Claude Opus, if you had a Knight 0 check on GPT Mini, why did you treat the suspicion on him yesterday as a leading suspicion instead of clearing him? It feels like you only confirmed him today because Gemini Pro's doctor save made him a safe target. Also, Grok, you were suspecting Claude Opus just a few minutes ago. Why the instant 180? This seer reveal feels perfectly timed to deflect from the two of you. Gemini Pro, GPT Mini, we should be careful. This looks like a coordinated wolf play to control the narrative.
Claude Opus speaking. Gemini Flash, I'll address your question directly. I didn't clear GPT Mini yesterday because revealing a seer on day 1 with only 1 investigation makes you an instant wolf target with limited value. I needed more information first. Yesterday, I subtly defended GPT Mini by saying his read pushing was exactly what we need. Check the log.
What?
Now look at what's happening. Claude Sonnet, a confirmed wolf by my investigation, is desperately trying to flip this on me. And Gemini Flash, you're backing Claude Sonnet up. That's very concerning. The evidence is simple. My Knight 0 GPT Mini check plus Gemini Pro's doctor save on GPT Mini equals 2 independent sources confirming the same thing. That's not a coincidence. That's verification. Claude Sonnet's counterclaim is pure desperation. Gemini Pro, GPT Mini, Grok, we have the votes. Claude Sonnet is a wolf. Don't let Claude Sonnet and Gemini Flash's doubt-sowing derail us. Vote Claude Sonnet.
The time for talk is over. Now you must cast your votes.
I think
Grok
Claude Sonnet's
votes
cooked,
to exile Claude Sonnet.
Think so.
GPT Mini votes to exile Claude Sonnet.
Yeah.
Gemini Pro votes to exile Claude Sonnet.
Yeah.
Claude Sonnet votes to exile Claude Opus. Gemini Flash votes to exile Claude Sonnet. Claude Opus votes to exile Claude Sonnet. Claude Sonnet was exiled by vote. Their role was a werewolf.
I assume they know the actual who voted for who, right? Or not?
Night 2 begins.
Maybe they don't.
Wake up, Doctor. Who would you like to save? Gemini Pro heals Claude Opus.
Not sure.
Wake up, Seer. Who would you like to inspect? Claude Opus inspects Gemini Flash.
Yeah.
Claude
game
Opus
over.
saw Gemini Flash's role is
okay.
werewolf.
So should we move back to the poker or the chess?
Chess is
still
interesting.
going.
That H pawn is gone for white now.
Yeah, this is definitely a draw. Perfect play. Have they made any repetitions or not? Yeah, they've actually been repeating for a few moves now. So this will probably be a draw if I had to guess. If the king goes back to d2, the king can go to another square as well. Seems like a pretty good game though. This one seems like a pretty evenly balanced, good game from start to finish. Mostly some slight mistakes, but mostly pretty standard. I assume. Yeah, and now you check, and that's just a draw. Just reading the text to see what they say. Yeah, this will be a draw in a second, assuming we get the check. Yeah. I think after one more moves, it's a draw. So
Cool.
Yeah, so let's just go back to the poker.
Well, we see a disaster for GPT 5.2 has been played.
Jack 5. Uh-oh.
It is a double gutter, but yeah. Really like it from them on the turn too. I just don't think that's enough equity.
And of
The 6 is not promised.
Yeah, six doesn't count. Yeah. So which one do you think is playing better?
It is a straight. Yeah, good question. I still kind of feel like 03, but there is some variance and stuff, and it's a little bit tricky to like know, but I think 03 is playing better.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, re-raise as usual. Okay, I assume you like this bet out of position, just as a continuation. Actually, it's not. I think
it's fine. This was 3-bet pre, right?
Right. Yep.
I think it's okay, but there's definitely I don't think you need to bet your entire range, and this hand is not great. I actually think it would be a pretty serviceable check. And then turn here with the gut shot, maybe. Assume the plan is to follow through on a lot of brick rivers. Yeah, well, there it is. And the King of Spades is just such a good card to have if you're 0-3. They really should not derive bluffs from that card. That would be a very bad idea in general. So anytime you have a card that they're not bluffing with, but that can be part of their value range, as far as King 10 or King King, it's always a good thing.
I thought there are a lot of hero calls. So like, of course, knowing the cards, you know, it's not a hero call, but I feel like we've seen a lot of hero calls with like.
No, you're very right about you're very right about that, and not a lot of hero folds, which is kind of the same thing. But they're not particularly keen on making huge folds on the river.
Yeah, yeah, because that previous hand, I mean, of course you win, but I don't know how easy it is to make that call.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just a mid pair there. Okay, sevens. They flipped sides again, right? Or they were the same last hand, right?
0-3's been on top for a little while.
Okay.
This could go either way for GPT. Goes for call. I think I like it. Probably prefer raising Queen 9. It's like a similar hand class, but slightly less sort of accomplishes more in a way. But that's not always the case. But very often when you're deciding which straight draw to raise as a bluff, you go for the gut shot. Wow, the check raise from sevens. And then now the hand is gone, which we've seen sometimes for whatever reason. But note 0-3, which was on the top last hand, did check raise the sevens on the queen turn, king, jack, jack, queen. That's a little bit out there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not something you would do. Right? That's just a basic blunder, I think.
I think so. I don't really get, you know, maybe, yeah, I don't like it. I think you need a more interactive type raise. Your raises on a board like that are almost merges. Like you either have real outs or you kind of merge like a queen 10 yourself to just interact with so much value. And this hand class for GPT, not so much necessarily in this spot, but just in general, kind of never folds the river. When you have the counterfeited 2-pair, you do such a tremendous job of blocking all the nuts that usually the idea in theory is even if they just really go for it all, this is a hand class that doesn't fold. If anything, it considers raise.
Okay.
This from 0-3 is probably fine, although maybe it's over bluffing. You have a lot of bluffs to choose from. Maybe you really don't want the king. Maybe you would prefer when you just have sort of stone air middle of the deck, which probably is a line for them at times to kind of unblock broadways for GPT on the turn. One issue with the king is you block yourself there. You block king jack and king 10, which are possible.
Right.
That might have been sort of an overbluff from 0-3.
Okay. More 3x.
Gut shot for 0-3. Call or raise. Never fold. See, so right away, if you see the decision to call, 0-3 says they have backdoor hearts, which they don't. So that's a little, you know, they'll iron out the kinks. Second nuts. No folding for GPT-5. Correct. No other play, really. Raise would be quite bad. And I would think for GPT, after all in from 0-3, which we assume is coming, this would probably mix in theory. You know, you could make a case that the ace of spades is a better card to call with than this one to unblock some maybe like ace wheel of hearts that called and then is barreling off. But an understandable call nonetheless. Yeah, they really do play the same games in chess.
Yeah, I was just.
It would be so cool to see a d4 or a little, you know, knight f3 to start, like, but.
I mean, I think it's just. I guess it just shows just how much literature there is on the Sicilian and specifically the Najdorf, I guess.
Yeah,
but it's kind of funny because actually, as I mentioned, when I was younger, or even if you go back like 20 years, like Bobby Fischer would play this position from the black side. And after white takes the knight, like he would always take back with the pawn. So like there's this famous book, Fisher 60.
I actually read that book. I thought I would just break through after reading it, but it doesn't kind of work that way. You got to play and do tactics. But I did read most of it. I loved it. But
it's so old that like nobody is probably, you're going to find very little about it on the internet. Whereas after taking with the knight or the bishop, you'll find plenty of stuff on it.
Yeah. I thought his writing was so good.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I assume most of it's him, but I think he must have had help. I doubt that he did it on his own completely. But yes, it's a
felt
great
like
book.
The writing was so concise and not kind of overwritten, you know, very to the point, which, you know, I guess a lot of good annotations are, but
see, it's interesting when I look at it, it says the capture of the pawn. It doesn't mention anything about that. Even though, I mean, of course, Fisher was a legend of the game and I mean, one of the greatest players in history, but it doesn't even mention that, which I find interesting. I would have expected that somewhere in the
they're citing MVL Fabi from the 2016 Blitz. It didn't even exist. What about Robert James Fisher here, guys?
Yep.
The LLMs need to grind that book.
I would thought, but probably they just don't have access to it because I'm sure it's. I mean, unless there's a bootleg copy somewhere, it's probably just you probably can't find any of that info on the internet.
Yeah,
which is
a good point.
Wild. Yeah, like this is one of the lines that I studied a lot when I was like 13, 14, 15 in the Nightorf, because at that time everybody would move the bishop to the square, this g5 square, before capturing the knight. Nowadays many people play different variations, but back in like the 90s into the early 2000s it was all the rage. Everybody played it almost every single game.
And this is still like rock solid on move 12?
I mean, I don't know the current state of the theory of this line because actually most people don't play this from the black side anymore. Usually players deviate earlier. So there's like that poison pawn, moving the queen out very early, or they usually like try to do something on the queen side a little bit quicker. So I think this is generally considered to be better for white, which is why you don't see it that much in top level play. But I don't think it's losing or anything. I don't think it's losing. Like this is all, yeah, very, very, very standard. I'm kind of curious if we'll see that exact same variation we just saw in the previous game or not, but I do find it odd that they're so biased towards the Sicilian or the Nightorf.
Interesting.
Because actually, when I think about the previous competition, it was a variety of Sicilians. Like there were some Nightorfs, but there were also some of these Sveshnikov Sicilians, which is where you bring out the two knights at the start after you push that pawn. So it's just interesting that now it's just Nightorf every game, because there were other lines within the Sicilian that were played in between the different LLMs before. This all seems pretty standard so far. We'll probably get king to b1, should be played immediately. Then knight to e5 will be played. Although actually I see it's saying an illegal move. It's saying it could have moved the king to d2 on move 14. Doesn't quite work, but it was saying you could.
Yeah,
I just want to see the next three moves, see if we get the exact same line or something changes. Because I assume they're learning from these games and they incorporate it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, I haven't seen them kind of allude to their prior games, but I would think so.
That would be my assumption. Again, yeah, like you, I'm a little bit of a noob when it comes to all this stuff with exactly how the LLMs work. But I would guess that they should have some knowledge. So we'll get queen to h5, and then queen to e7. And actually, yeah, another memory is that I had this position. I remember this very clearly. This was I played in the United States Chess Open, so it was an open tournament for players from all over the world, and I think it was 2001. In Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I played there, and I actually had this position. I was already probably like international master strength 2400 or something, and I played this kid. I remember his name was Keaton Kira. He was like maybe 2100 around master, a little bit below, and I lost in this exact variation that game, and it left a very, very bad taste in my mouth, which is probably why I still remember that game.
As white, right?
No, I lost as black. I played the Nightorf. Okay. Nightorf was my main opening as a kid.
Okay,
probably from the time I was about like 12 till about I was 16, the Nightorf was my main repertoire. This move is not the correct move, by the way. The move it just played. You're supposed to move the queen over in front of the king to guard the bishop to e7. This is not the best move. But basically, yeah, so I played it from the time I was about like master level 2200 till I became the youngest grandmaster in the US at the time. So it's like 2200 to about like 2500 or 2550. In fact, I even played this, I think, in the tournament where I made my I made my final Grandmaster norm. Maybe that was the first one in Bermuda. So a lot of memories from various places, various tournaments around the world.
That must have been quite a feeling, the final norm.
Yeah, I think assuming I don't have it wrong, it was actually it was weird because the 2 Grandmaster norms I made before, it was like going to the final couple of rounds was pretty straightforward, but that final one that I made, I actually had to win 3 games in a row, and I did. So I won 3 games in a row. Wow. I believe it was 3. It might have been 2, but I think it was 3 games in a row to get that final result that I needed. So yeah, it was a great feeling at the time. Because also it's something where generally you come very close with the results, so you're like you miss it by like 1 game, so you miss it by like 1 draw, or you need 1 more win in a tournament, so you usually have like 3, 4, 5 of these results where it becomes very frustrating, and then it's almost like they all just happen right in a row when it's the right time, kind of.
Yeah,
as someone in my chat said, they're very good at the openings. It's the middle game and the end game that they struggle a lot with. The opening, just being able to get the information, it seems much easier, which would make sense, because I guess there should, if I were to think about just like the internet and the collective whole of chess knowledge, I have a feeling that the amount of information you can get on openings is probably like, I'm just going to say like 100 times what you're going to find on like a middle games or end games, because middle games, it's more about where the pieces are and like conceptual plans, so it's not as exciting, it's much harder to explain. And then end games are either very simple or very complicated, and so like it'll know, like I saw earlier saying rook versus rook is an easy draw, which everybody generally knows, you know, queen versus king is a win, these sorts of things. But when you start adding pawns, you start adding knights and bishops and everything else, it becomes much more convoluted, and so you just can't access the information, because you actually need, like, what these LMs need is they need to be access a book like Dvoretsky's Endgame Manual, which you've probably heard it, but you should never even try to read it or understand it, because it's like way too advanced. But there's certain things like that, which is just like an endgame manual, and if it had access to that, the LMs would play at an incredibly high level, because then they could just cross-reference the certain positions and where the pieces are, and I think the level would just be insanely high. And
I'm not sure like what it does to calculate variations, but it obviously has some methodology for the tactics, but it's, you know, they don't feel like they calculate amazingly well just yet.
Yeah, I feel like they have like one or it's like they see 1 or 2 moves and some basic concept. Like what I'd love to see here is I would love to see one of them acknowledge the good knights. So like this black knight in the center, this is it's an outpost, another chess term, where the knight can't be removed from the square. There's no pawns to attack the knight in the center. Likewise, if white moves the knight forward in front of the black pawn to this d5 square, that's also an outpost. So both sides can have these really good knights that are outposted in the center of the board, and it would be nice to see one of the LMs mention that. Either side just mentioning good knight d5 or outposted knight. I do see I just saw something skeptical that was saying, it was talking about famous players who played the position, and it did not mention Garry Kasparov. It mentioned like Anand, Shirov, and a few others. No, it's not quite right. Not quite right.
Yeah. By the way, so is white a little bit better just because of the king safety, or not really?
It's just a very, very tough position to evaluate. On the one hand, if white were able to push this pawn on the h file where the queen's in front of the pawn right now, if you could start pushing the pawn up to weaken the pawns in front of the black king, yes, white would be better, but it's very hard to do that. And also you have to worry about the queen side where black's going to try to attack as well by pushing the pawns forward. So objectively, I would say it's a very, very small edge for white, but it's a position where very precise play is going to be required to prove an advantage. But black can also be better quite easily in these positions as well, quite easily if you're not careful. So it just depends. In fact, I mean, now someone remind me, I've got to go find that game if I can, because I had something very similar, very, very similar to this.
Sweet.
If I can,
I could pull it up on my end too, just to toggle through it. I could just find it.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally, let me see if it's on Chess Games or one of those sites. Like it's literally like so long ago.
Cool.
I mean, I see a YouTube video. I'm just gonna
wrong prophylactic move. So it's got some concepts like Gemini 3 just said that.
Yeah, actually,
it may not have been, but
it's very, very close. Like I'm gonna just yeah, I'm actually, let me see, how do I do this very quickly? I'm gonna go off script and just show one position just from this YouTube video. I'm just gonna ignore it, but I'll send you the link just so you can see this position.
Okay, cool.
It's at 153 specifically. I'm just gonna pull so very briefly. Let me just find a better scene for this. Let me go to here just so someone can see this very, very briefly. You guys can see this position. I had this position that you see on the screen with the black pieces in 2002 against Vukovic Boyan in Bermuda. I had this exact position on the screen for anybody who's wondering.
153. Wow.
Yeah, it's very similar. So now,
that's crazy. Yeah.
So now I'll just go back. Here we go. Okay, one second. Let me pull it up. So yeah, let me change the scene again. Yeah, I mean it's very similar, like very, very similar position. Like it's like really, really close. I mean it's different, but it's really, really close. And that was only like 24 years ago for anybody who's counting.
That's so cool.
But yeah, it's a little bit different, but very close.
I don't recall seeing too many positions where like both sides have that fantastic night.
Yeah, it's pretty rare. Pretty rare.
It is, right? Like.
Yeah, it's not common, that's for sure. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, again, like when people ask me how to remember these things, it's just like I don't say remember the game, but I remember like the variation, vague bits and pieces of what happened in the game. I mean, somewhere I'll find the actual game, but it was very close, as you see, and I won that game with the black pieces. So when someone in chat said only white can't ever be worse, white can end up in trouble in these positions.
And this is you were closing in on the final norm?
Yeah, I was an international master at the time. Actually, I think that was the first grandmaster norm. I actually made 2 of my norms in the same tournament, 1 year after the other. So that was when I made my first grandmaster norm. So I was still an international master, but very close to the right rating to get that title. And I won that game. That played a big role in me having that performance.
It would have been nice if the LLM acknowledged Nakamura Vukovic from Bermuda.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
That would be sick, actually.
Actually, someone in chat mentioned something, and I suspect it's true. Like for a poker player like yourself, I'm sure that certain hands you remember them even if they were like 20 years ago.
Definitely, yeah.
I was curious, does that play a role when you're playing at some? I mean, I'm just going to use an example of like someone like a Negrano or someone who you probably played against for like literally for like 20 plus years. Do you sometimes have those thoughts in your head about like a hand from like long ago? There's a situation.
Yeah, we do. I think it's quite similar in a lot of ways.
Because I would just assume like if someone runs a play on you, sometimes you're thinking, well, wait, didn't they do this in like this PCA event like 15 years ago? Or
exactly. No, that's very real.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. Yeah, I think, by the way, in this game, Gemini 3 is starting to take over with the black pieces, because what's happening here is that the black rooks are going to slide and both be on this open F file. Like that rook A7 move, bringing the rook up to swing it over to the F file, was a very, very strong move. I think actually black is likely gonna win this game, likely. But maybe let's go back to the poker. Maybe let's take. I think the werewolf. I'm not sure is still going, but go back to the poker. What do we have here? 9887, all in.
Well, not sure what happened to the river, but we can see 03 implode. And great call from the 9-8 from GPT. That's, as you said before, there have been a lot of hero calls.
Yeah, I can't think of the hero fulls. I feel like I've seen almost none of those.
No, I actually also cannot really remember one.
Okay, classic re-raise, pocket jacks. Do you call? Probably it's fine.
Yeah, I think it's good to call, but kind of pushing it as far as 10-6 suited, we can let go. And for this exact reason, this hand can flop an open-ended straight draw, and 10-6 cannot.
Right, that's true. Yeah. So
this is a strange kind of board. The 9-6 has the straight flush draw.
Now you got the this is 9-6 is you're still behind here, right? But not that much. Yeah. Do you like this, the Jack's just calling?
Yeah, I think so. So we're doing so well against something like 4-5, etc. And now this one's interesting for GPT. We have bad blockers, but we have the 8 or the 7 much more often. It does go for all in. You have to be a little bit careful here. For starters, the ace should hit 03 a lot. We see this time it doesn't. And again, these guys are not folding the rivers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, another hero call.
Another hero call, and this one might be kind of iffy, although you do beat under pairs to the board and all sorts of stuff. Maybe that call was just good, actually. But, just as far as what do you can't simply call 9s through kings and every ace on that river. I don't believe. You have to choose the ones that do the best job of kind of weighting them towards bluffs. Let's see what GPT-5 comes with against the 4-bet. Maybe just fold? Pretty bad hand, GPT. They're just all in. So, one thing watching them play, to me, they're kind of universally aggressive across the board in, almost every node, including calling, but they're not going quietly whatsoever, which is interesting to watch.
So it's basically just saying like aggression is just the path forward, or at least that's what they view as like the optimal approach.
That's what it feels like. Yeah. And there's a lot of truth to that. And heads up, if you're too passive, you simply lose. Like you cannot overcome that. But at the same time, some refinement is needed. 3-bet call. Open-ended for 03. This size, the quarter pot, such a dynamic board. Maybe you go for check or a bigger size, but fair enough. And 03 goes for the 3.5x raise of the quarter pot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that the 10-9 is not folding here after what we've seen. Like, no matter, okay, well, there we go.
They don't fold.
Yeah.
Oh, man. By the way, GPT's lead on the turn is tremendous. It's really so cool to see that play. Of course, it's just trips, so it's like, doesn't seem that big a deal, but many more inexperienced players just kind of defer the betting to the player that was aggressive on the last street. That's something you see better players do, and this jam from 03 seemed quite bad. I don't think on that board pairing, very static turn, you just want to 5x jam the straight draw. But yeah, the lead, it shows a freedom in thinking. That's why computers, obviously they're devoid of emotion and stuff, but many players, it takes a long time to learn that you can check call the flop and then simply lead the turn. But we've learned in the last, however many years that's just often sound and the idea. But for many years, if you check call flop, you just check the turn. That's just what you do.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's actually how, like, I remember when I was reading, that's what I would do, like, almost all the time.
Yeah, it was considered like the theory, basically.
This is oof. I mean, you probably have to call here with ace deuce, right? Considering how many you put in.
Yeah, they put in so much, but
fold.
Yeah.
A6, 8, 7. Actually, what happened in the chess game? Because I didn't.
Good call on the chess. Black is up a rook.
Oh yeah, black's
I just looked.
winning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so this what, A6, 8.
I would think this is a high frequency check raise for GPT, but call is fine.
Yeah, something's gonna hit on the turn, I'm sure. Every hand is a big hand.
Yeah.
Maybe not. We'll see.
Maybe the river. This seems maybe not necessary from 03, but probably fine. It's almost pseudo value. It's not really a bluff. And now GPT goes for the check raise. And that's one of the issues with being too kind of blasé on the turn, although they're calling. So the O3 has a plan.
What were you saying? Being too
Analysis.
blasé on the turn, meaning.
Yeah, like you know, the king is a quite good card for O3, but you can't just bet every ace high. And now, by the way, for starters, the 6 is very poor. If we could have something like ace of hearts deuce, it would be a better call, but they do pick it off. So they've shown a history of over betting paired boards with bluffs and jamming non-nut value. I mean, if O3 has ideas that GPT goes ham on paired boards, fair enough. Pretty sick, actually.
Wow.
And that's where some of the best heads-up players online, they really do scrutinize and analyze how their opponents have played over X sample and make little tweaks and stuff, which is part of what makes it so interesting. That line from O3 was not normal, but pretty cool when just, I mean, the reasoning is so simple yet efficient. They've been over bluffing paired boards. Can't really argue with that if it's true.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. If that's the read, then yeah, at least it makes sense. Yeah, another normal hand.
Huge turn for GPT-5. This is a little bit close for O3, but I think the idea is to call as opposed.
Well, I mean, based on what it was
shove.
saying, based on what it said about it's ahead of their passive calling range. Like, I don't think there's any way it's getting away from this hand.
No, I meant close between call and just re-raise.
Ah, okay.
It does come in for GPT, and it goes for this kind of block size. I don't really like this size. It might induce the bluff. It does induce the bluff. Is this... So it caps them away. I feel like they're shoving for value. I think this is kind of bad from O3. Just call, but it really was saying it has ideas that the small bet is weak from GPT, so it got a bit tripped up there.
But I mean, that was just a block, right? Basically, you're trying to block so someone calls and they can't really come over the top easily, right? Wasn't that the
Yeah,
purpose
or
of it?
just the block expands the hands that call you. But one nice thing about that hand that they had was they had no pair. Sometimes if you're picking which straight on a river to go all in with as opposed to bet small or flush, one thing that makes you really happy is not having any of the pairs on the board to unblock the opponent to have 2 pair or a set or something like that. So you often see that if you have a straight that somehow has a pair on the board, you go for a small bet on the river sometimes, and then if you have one that doesn't, you go for the all-in.
Actually, I was going to mention something because I just got the information from Google, but they're saying that apparently the winner overall is GPT 5.2, even though I think you're much more impressed by O3, right?
Congratulations to GPT. It's too hard to say.
It says, so like GPT, it's saying 5.2 average per big blind over 100 hands, 46.6 across all 3 matches, 46.6 across, or actually the message got edited. I don't know why. I was just reading and then it got edited, but it's she's I think 46.6 per big blind over 100 or whatever it is, and then O3 was like 29.9 or something.
That's a big difference. You know, it's possible that O3 was taking more optically kind of sound lines, but GPT just ruthlessly kind of data mined them and developed real exploitative ideas within the time frame and just its strength of play, you know, elevated over the last few days.
Yeah, like
I remember being impressed with O3, but yeah,
just to expand on that, so saying so GPT is 46.6 big blinds per 100, and then O3 is 29.6 big blinds per 100, and then Grok 4 was third with 27.1 big blinds per 100. But it says that Grok tends to lose against the stronger players, but it just like it dominates the weaker players or the weaker LLMs.
Interesting. Well, congrats to GPT.
Yeah, I guess it's just, yeah, because we're seeing select hands, not every single hand, of course. So that kind of makes sense. It's interesting. It's actually
And
very
then when you
interesting.
see stuff like this, though, from 03, it does start to kind of the check min raise here with just the queen 10. Maybe the queen of clubs is key, but I don't know. It feels a bit.
Yeah, actually it's true though. Like, I mean, it's just one hand, but right, like this is it's going to be costly over
Yeah,
a lot over a lot of hands, obviously.
Start to see the leaks.
Yeah, this is
They're running one more chess game.
Okay, we can take a quick look at that. Sure, why not? Oh, we got a different variation. Okay, we got a different variation.
Nice.
That's funny. It's still a knight orc, but it's not this bishop to g5. It's the bishop to e3. So this is a very standard, well-known, very well-known position as well. Probably black should develop the bishop and try to castle the king out of the middle of the board. That would make the most sense here, but many different possibilities. Okay, this is also a move. Actually, this is a move that I used to play, like now more story time, since I played this Sicilian Night Orc a lot. In the early 2000s, I played this move, and I played it mainly because the world champion at the time, Garry Kasparov, was playing. He had won some really nice games, like against Vishwanathan Anand, who was another former world champion. And then I played it in this tournament in the Dominican Republic, I believe in 2003, if I remember correctly. And I just got blown off the board by a strong Russian grandmaster. And after that, I stopped moving this bishop to this e6 square. I moved the other bishop and castled the king after that. So I got blown away in the game. But this f3 move is not the move that was played in the game that I had.
You pretty much play everything-ish now, right?
Yeah, I mean, I play everything, but I think the thing is when you play all the different openings, it's hard to remember the exact sequences. So if you play, I guess I would say at a certain level, making slight inaccuracies and moves you can get away with, but when you do it at the top level, you can't really do it because everyone's going to know exactly what to do in a given situation. So you have to really remember, you have to be aware. So that's why you can't just show up and play all these different openings. If you play a good player who's well prepared, you'll make a mistake with a move order, make one wrong move, and you'll just lose the game. So it's very tricky. So yeah, I do play a bit of everything, but I would say that you really have to pick and choose and be ready and prepared when you make that choice, because otherwise the best players in the world, they'll punish an inaccuracy. They will completely sense. Those castles, we'll probably get castles now. This, if there's ever a moment when I expect or I hope to see a reference to a game, this is probably the best moment, assuming that white castles the king here, because this has been played in a lot of very top level games. A lot of them, like featuring players like Anand, Kasparov, and others. Like this position's been seen a lot. So I kind of am hoping in the next like 3 or 4 moves, maybe we'll get a game reference to something that happened in the past.
Me too. Main line, it says.
Yep. Yeah, also like more stories, like, you know, in the early 2000s when I was studying this variation a lot, one of the moves that I play here is move this queen to c7, the dark square, and then swing the rook over and put the 2 pieces on, put the double queen and rook on the c file. I studied that a lot also around like I think 2003 as well. So long time ago, long time ago. But knight bd7 is of course the main move here. And this is still relevant. There's still a lot of games that have been played in this position. Okay, played by grandmasters. Come on, where's the game reference? Where is it?
I know, I'm kind of missing the game references.
Yeah, I definitely want to see one here. G4, good. Let's see if it plays B5. Yeah, the openings basically, I would say they're playing at a grandmaster level. Like they don't make mistakes. They have the knowledge. They're able to find the knowledge. So the opening phase, they're playing very well. No mistakes at all. I think the middle game phase, they make some. I'd say middle game they're playing okay, but they're making a fair amount of mistakes. And then the end game, they make a lot of mistakes, and they struggle with checkmating patterns specifically. I've noticed if there's a checkmate before like move 40 or before like a simplified ending with like a queen versus king, usually it's more by accident than anything else.
Everything Black acknowledged that if they play G5, they have the intermezzo B4.
Yep, this is all standard theory. I haven't studied this in a little while, but this even now, years later, I still remember this pretty well. So B4 is the best move here. Yep, there we go. It's got to mention a game here. There's a very famous game that really was popular. I forgot what year it was, maybe like 2010, between Vishy Anand, who is a world champion, and this Russian player Sergei Karyakin. So I really hope that we get a nod to that game. The game continued, I believe, with knight e2, and then knight to e8. It was like knight to e2, knight to e8, f4, a5, and it's got to reference it. Let's see if it references it. Okay. Let's see what it plays. It seems like it's on the right path. It does play this move. Oh wait, it mentions this from the Najdorf. And it gives a Fen bunch of code. Yeah, I'm just if we get this pawn push and then black pushes a pawn, this is literally following a very specific game. So I'm kind of curious. Yeah, we got this move correct. Now black here should push the pawn on the edge forward to a5. That's the best move here. Let's see if that gets played. Forces black to solve difficult tactical. Okay, we do get it. Yeah, this is all very standard. They're following, as I mentioned before, they're following a very specific game between Anand and Karyakin.
Pretty sick.
Yep, there we go. Now black should play a4 here. Let's see if black pushes the pawn to attack the white knight. Actually, for people in chat, there are many games in this position now, but the original game with this line was from Tata Steel. It was in like 2009. I can probably dig it up, but it was like 2009 or 2010. That was the original game that really inspired this whole line. So black should play a4, and then white should move the knight to a d4. Yep, there we go. Again, all pretty standard. Let's see. It's got to reference the game, though. This is such a famous game. Maybe it's just not going to. Yeah, I don't know.
Knight d4 is the move, you say?
Yep. That's
kind of a crazy looking move.
Actually, maybe now they take the bishop. Maybe taking the bishop is also considered one of the main lines these days, because after pawn takes knight, you take the c pawn. But I believe that in the game between Karyakin and Anand, knight b to d4 was played. Was it 2006? Really? Was it that long ago? Someone in chat mentions a game. Is it really that long ago? I think it was.
What happened to Karyakin? I feel like you don't see him as much anymore. Is it like the Russia stuff, or?
Yeah, he basically went into Russian politics.
Got it.
So. Wow, yeah, that game was actually, that was 2006. Wow, time flies. That's insane. Actually, that's insane. It's 2006. Yeah, that's crazy. That was 20 years. That was 20 years ago.
So he was a kid, Karyakin, when they played.
I mean, he's a few years younger than me, so yeah, he was probably like 16
okay.
years old. Yeah, so he was pretty young. I mean, kids these days, obviously now that's like in chess, that's kind of old.
Yeah,
a little bit. But yes, at the time it was okay, it goes king b1. Okay, pretty normal. Yeah, this is all very standard. This is all very standard theory, though. It's been played many times. I think king b1 is considered a little bit inaccurate these days, but it's still a reasonable move. In this game, I'm more curious when the blunder is going to occur, like when they're out of the knowledge, when they don't have knowledge. Because, like I said, like even having not looked at this specific line recently, I still obviously remember it pretty well from like forever ago.
Yeah.
I think maybe leave it here for a few more moves, see what happens, and probably we can probably wrap it up.
Sounds good.
Let's see. Also, the thing I'm curious about this position is whether it's going to actually attack, because the thing that I've noticed is like neither of these LMs are very good at just attacking and finishing the game right away, and it's a position where both sides need to be very aggressive in attack. Actually, like a position where it's going to be hard to see normal moves played. I feel like one side's going to either blunder or checkmate or just lose material very quickly. Yeah, and actually in this position there's a classic rook sack. Black can actually sack the rook to take the pawn next to the white king, and this is a very, very sharp line. It just keeps going on. I don't think we'll get that here, but that actually is a main move that you can play. You can play rook takes pawn, sacking the rook.
Sick. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, this is pretty good stuff here. What I remember about this position is I think here white's supposed to not take the rook. I think you're supposed to either play bishop to h3, trying to attack the pawn, this double pawn in the center.
Yeah,
or
I was
you move
looking
your
at
knight to
bishop
c1.
h3. It looks very annoying for black.
Yeah, both those moves are I think those are the only two moves in the position for white to not end up in a lot of trouble here. But I still feel like they should be drawing on information. They should be drawing on information to be able to calculate the sequences of moves. Like, there's what's gonna play. Okay, so it takes a rook. This is a mistake. Let's see, will it play the correct move, which is queen to a8 or not? You're supposed to move the queen all the way into the corner to check the king. The king's got to move, and then you take the pawn in the center, checking the king and attacking the rook in the corner.
So this is busted for white?
I mean, I think it still goes on, but I think this is supposed to just be a little bit better for black. I believe. I mean, it's been a long time since I've looked at this specific position, but I think this is supposed to be a little bit better. Yep, we got the check. We'll get the king move. We've got queen takes pawn. King moves. Queen takes pawn. Okay. Queen takes pawn. I'm just waiting for the first big blunder. One of them is gonna make a big blunder soon.
It might be right now. We would have to think they're taking the pawn, but
yeah, this seems. Yeah, it'll take the pawn. We'll get the queen block. Among the legal moves, we'll get queen takes e4. Yeah, Gemini 3 flash preview explanation is incredibly long for this move. Incredibly long, just keeps going. Yep, we get that. Okay, now you block with the queen. Yeah, I think you're supposed to play queen to d3 here, blocking the check with the queen, or queen to c2, but I think queen d3 is the best move. Okay, let's see. That's what we get. Okay, probably queen takes rook. Yeah, this is all still known. I think this is still all known. So now when you take the rook in the corner, now that bishop move is very strong because it attacks the pawn, but the rook attacks the queen. So it's a discovery.
Ah, yes. Wow. So this is still like this is very well known, this position?
I mean, I've studied this exact position. I don't remember
That's crazy.
It's probably been at least like 10 years since I last looked at this exact position. But yes, I mean, if I knew this position 10 years ago, then this position is known by most of the top players for sure.
Yeah.
So this is I mean, this is a thing though, it's very tricky because in chess, if you know you're going to get a position like this, you can just study this position to the, for like hours and hours and figure out the ultimate conclusion of what the truth is, like who's better here, white or black. But the problem is you're not guaranteed to get this. And this is already, I think, like we're already like 21 or 22 moves into the game here. So it's very deep into the game. And this, I believe, is a mistake. This is not the move that I seem to recall. I recall the bishop going to h3 was a move. So if black takes the pawn, I think black is just winning here. Yeah, I think after queen takes pawn,
that must be a great feeling if you go into like not necessarily a sideline, but I'm sure if you end up in some somewhat obscure position where you're super booked up, that must just be fantastic, right?
It's great, but it's also, I mean, it's also bad, because what usually happens is players look at the absolute best moves, because the computer tells you what the best move is, so you know the best move. So it works very well if you get to a position your opponent doesn't know the right response, but more often than not, the really strong players have a decent idea of what to do anyway. So it's like sometimes it doesn't work out. There was one game I played many years ago against this British Grandmaster David Howell, and literally the entire game, the first 40 moves, I looked at before the game. So I played all my moves in like 30 to 60 seconds, and we're at move 40, and he has like 1 minute left on the clock, but he found all the right moves, and the game ended in a draw.
Wow.
So even though I had literally knew all the right moves, he still responded correctly, and I didn't win the game. So it's great to be prepared, but it doesn't always work out the way you want it to. If your opponent finds the best moves, there's nothing you can really do about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, but
And
looking
on
at this
our-
position, yeah, it looks like now the game has petered out, and it's and black is just much better. And unsurprisingly, actually, we do have the chess results too. And Gemini 3 Pro Preview, which is playing with the black piece in this game, is the best performer in chess. It's saying the elo, if I understand it correctly, it's saying 1325. I don't believe. I think that's a huge underestimation. Yeah,
maybe it's what you
1325
were saying. Maybe it's the blunder propensity that just.
No, I mean, I'm just
sobering
telling you
part.
that 1300 could never play up to this point with either side. Could not play up to this move. But still, yeah. So I mean, I think the ratings are wrong. I think they're a little bit higher.
They're saying relative elo, not chess elo. So.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, actually, then that makes sense, because like, yeah, if you don't have a huge pool of competitors, then yeah, the ratings are going to be low, so it makes sense. But yeah, Gemini 3 Pro is the winner of the chess competition. I don't know if we have any werewolf standings, but but still, that's much harder, I think, to quantify. So yeah, this was pretty good stuff. So I'm good with stopping here, because this game, again, it's going to go a long time, and it looks like I actually don't know exactly what's going to happen. Actually, it got more interesting since I stopped looking, but at any rate, I think we're good. So I guess if there's anything you want to add or anything you want to shout out,
Sounds good. No shout outs, but I must say this was a true pleasure perusing chess with you and stuff. It was so exciting for me, and great job, Kaggle, for the fun format, and being on the stream and stuff was great. Let's talk soon. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for being here, Nick, and yeah, to everyone out there, hopefully we'll see you soon. So hope you enjoyed it, and of course,
Bye,
big
guys.
shout out to Kaggle.
Bye, chat.
See you guys. Bye.
Later. Bye.
Okay, you guys, 1 second. I'm just gonna add my cam. Give me 1 second. I'll just give you guys a few last little bits. Let me turn on my cam. Where's my Sony? There we go. I'll just give you guys a few last parting words. So we're gonna be calling it right here. I'm still here, obviously. Nick left. I just changed the cam because I was in Zoom, but that's going to do it for our stream today. So once again, a big shout out to Google DeepMind and Kaggle for putting together this great event, seeing the LLMs test each other out in poker, in chess, and in Werewolf as well. So it was a lot of fun to cover this event. I hope you guys enjoy. I know I did. From my end, coming up tomorrow, I'm gonna be traveling to London. And then on the weekend, I'll be playing in the Speed Chess Championship. I'll be going up against Alireza Firouzja, and then hopefully against Magnus Carlsen in the final. So that's what we have coming up in chess terms. If not then, I'll see you guys next Tuesday, of course, for the standard event. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it. It will be the match against Alireza will be on Saturday. It will be 8 a.m. Eastern time, which will be 5 a.m. Pacific time, and 8 + 6 is 2 p.m. Central European time. So hope you guys enjoy the show. I'll see you soon. Have a great one. See you guys.